No, your eyes do not deceive you. This video is 3 hours long, so we're going to keep this intro short and sweet. This video will be ranking every major character in the Persona series, ranging from Persona 1 all the way to Persona 5, including all of the spin-offs. The tiers are not ordered, so if a character's at the top of A tier, it doesn't mean they're better than the one that's at the bottom of A tier. That's just how it ended up happening. This is the 10,000 subscribers special, so thank you all so much for 10,000 subscribers. It really means a lot, and I really hope you enjoy the tier list. So I guess the easiest way to start this would be to start with the characters I haven't seen, which is very few actually. The only characters I have not seen are the Tactica characters, the Tactica DLC characters. So like these ones, like I have no idea what the hell these are. No, not him. These ones. Yeah, these four. I have not seen these four. So we can put these in the not play tier and we can just get on with our merry way. So NA, then who else? I haven't played the Q games. Those are the only mainline, well not mainline, but the only spin-offs that I have not played. Unless you want to count the Tactica DLC, I guess, but I don't think anybody's really counting that shit. Q2, yeah, Q2. I have not played Q2. Get these up here. There's going to be a lot of scrolling, by the way, so I apologize in advance. Lots and lots of scrolling, but as we get more characters on the list, the scrolling will become less strenuous. So just bear with me, y'all. This is going to be a long road. Seriously, holy. So okay, so we'll start with my favorites. I'm pretty sure that's everyone I have not seen yet. So all these characters we are going to be ranking today. Yeah, all of them. So I guess we'll start with my favorite character. This should come as no surprise to anyone. Fuka Yamagishi. I could go on all day long about why she's my favorite. Like, I feel like some people don't think I'm being serious when I talk about her, but like I'm being dead serious. She is by far my favorite character in the series. There's a lot of reasons why, but it mainly comes down to like her personality. She's so charming. She's so sweet. She literally, like, think about like the whole Persona 3 narrative. She really doesn't do anything wrong like throughout the whole story. I mean, what's the worst thing she does? I guess I don't know. Like everyone else, you can think of like a certain bad thing they've done, and I don't mean bad as in bad character writing, just like bad in general, like across the board. I can't really think of anything that she did that was bad at all. She was always helpful. Even when Natsuki and them were bullying her, she was super understanding of it. So I mean, like, she's so sweet. She's pretty funny to me. I think she's pretty funny. She's just like, she's like a comfort character for me. You know what I mean? Like, I just love her, man. I really do. Like, whenever I'm feeling kind of ass or whatever, I'm feeling kind of lowy, I'm like, yo, Fuka Yamagishi, man, like, she's just a comfort character. There's really nothing else to say. She is just a pure comfort character for me, for sure. Then we can go right in to what I think is the worst character. At least we can maybe adjust it. We'll see. Oh fuck, I forgot about her. No, I haven't seen her. I guess the first mission, have not played that, obviously. Let's see, where is he? Yeah, this guy is fucking dog shit. I'm sorry. I get it. Like, I get why some people like Nozomi. I really do. But come on, man, like, I just hate everything about this character. I really do. I think he has terrible writing. I think he is just such a terrible character. And I said it in my social link tier list video. The reason I think he's so bad is because he scams people. He just scams people outright. Doesn't feel bad about it at all. He might say something like sorry, I guess, at the rank 10, but he doesn't ever apologize to the people that he scammed directly. He doesn't give them their money back. He just ruined people's lives because he had like this negative image of his body. And as someone who has had a negative image of their body, I was obese as a child, so I'm not fat shaming. I used to be obese myself. That's fucking unacceptable, period. That's not fucking cool. If he had a better approach to it, like, oh, I'm scamming people, you know, I feel inferior to my brother, that's an interesting concept on paper, but they fucked it up. They just absolutely ruined it. And it makes me so mad because, like, the fat representation and Persona is just bad as is. So it's like, okay, we can have a fat social link. Cool. And then they just fucked it up. So that's awesome. That's great. So yeah, terrible character. Absolutely fucking atrocious. I don't need, okay, we'll just, let's do Naoya. I don't, like, probably, you see, we're gonna go off the game here. We're not gonna go off the manga. If it was off the manga, this would be a completely different story. We're gonna put Naoya in C tier. Why C tier? He's like, he does nothing in Persona 1. Like, if you've played Persona 1, he is the most silent protagonist there is. He says close to nothing. He says maybe a couple things here and there. He has his summon lines. Like, I mean, there's really nothing to say. He's just super middle of the pack. He's okay, not terrible, not great. He's just kind of there, just C tier. Not bad. Oh, dude, this is gonna take forever. This is gonna take absolutely forever. Ooh, yeah, let's start with this. Yeah, this guy's dog shit. This guy's absolutely dog shit. Yeah. The Void Quest dungeon is the worst dungeon of Persona 4. Persona 4 Golden is still my favorite. I'd go between that one and Persona 5 Royal as my favorite Persona games. The Void Quest dungeon is probably, off the top of my head, the worst dungeon, maybe in Persona, period. There's the Air Raid Shelter in Persona 2. There's... No, that's it. Like, I really think the only one that's worse is the Air Raid Shelter. So... I mean, yeah, the Void Quest dungeon is terrible story-wise. It makes the investigation team look stupid as hell. Mitsuo's not even that compelling of a character. He's literally just a loser. He doesn't have any depth to him. He's just like, oh, I'm a loser just for the sake of being it, which is like cool, I guess. But you also have someone who's a loser in that game that has more depth to them in Adachi. So it's just like, did we really need another character like this? Like, we already had that represented in the game as the main focus of the criminal investigation that the investigation team were trying to do. Like, this was just a complete waste of time. It made the pacing of the game so much worse, and it made the investigation team look significantly dumber than they needed to. So this dungeon just sucks ass, dude. It sucks really bad. Let's juxtapose, because we've been negative. Let's go with something good. Aigis is easily up here with Fuka. Aigis and Fuka are like two of the best written female characters in the game, in my opinion anyway. Some would argue Fuka's the worst, but I totally disagree. Aigis, I mean, is there anything I even need to say about Aigis? Like, I feel like we all understand why she's amazing. Like, she goes from being this devoid robot. She sealed Ryoji or Nyx into Makoto 10 years ago on Moonlight Bridge, led to Makoto's parents indirectly dying as Aigis was fighting Nyx on the bridge, implants Ryoji into Makoto, holds regret over that over the coming like decade as she gets reactivated, and she feels this fondness toward Makoto. So I think that in itself is just like an amazing premise. Then they execute on it perfectly, like bam, slam dunk that shit. With her character arc, her becoming more human as the story develops, then her at the end of the game being the only one who wanted to kill Nyx because she was scared to see everyone else be live in fear. You know, she didn't want to see them die. Amazing character arc. Then you go into the Answer. She's got the character development in the Answer as well. She grows. She's probably the character in Persona that has seen the most growth out of almost anyone. I don't think she has the most growth, but it's close. It's real close. So Aigis, I don't know if any more needs to even be said, man. Aigis is just absolutely amazing. You know what? Fuck it. We're just going to do it on a game-by-game basis. Let's just make this more simple. So let's go into Maki next. Maki, if Naoya's in a C tier, Maki... she's at least an S. Is she goats? Is she a goat? She might be a goat, because even in the game, she is so good. But I feel like Persona 1 kind of struggles with this like thing for me where even though a character can be really good, like I think Mark is good, Nanjo's pretty good, Maki is obviously really good, but I don't know if I could put Maki on the same tier as like Fuka or Aigis for me personally. And that's because like, it's not her fault. It's just like, how do I explain it? It's so weird to explain it. It's just, it feels like Persona 1 doesn't it doesn't elaborate on the story as much as it should. Does that make sense? I feel like the manga elaborates on Maki's like character and everyone's character more than the game did. The game kind of feels like the pacing is kind of weird. So I don't know. It's hard to explain if you haven't played Persona 1, but even then, I think Maki is just absolutely freaking goated, dude. She is so good. I love Maki. Mark. If Maki's S, I think Mark is A. Mark goes from being this like hothead delinquent-ish type character. He's not really a delinquent, but he's like the quote-unquote delinquent of the game. He goes from being like this hothead kind of character with bad manners to being basically the opposite. He starts taking things more seriously by the end of the game. Him and Nanjo's relationship is really unique and interesting. Yeah, not a very deep character, but what we have there, like the substance we do have, very good. And Nanjo, same thing, like basically the exact same thing. It's just reversed. Nanjo was a lot more professional. He was a stuck up. He kind of looked down on people, but as you develop throughout the game, he starts caring for more people. He starts realizing the error of his ways, and basically has the same character arc as Mark, which I think is really cool. Yukino, we'll count Yukino's appearances in Persona 2 as well. So if Yukino was like, I think she's probably around S tier, yeah. Yukino, Persona 1 Snow Queen route, she is not delinquent, but she's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but she grows a lot in Persona 1. She goes from being like quote unquote delinquent, I don't know how exactly to explain it. Then with the help of Miss Psycho through the Snow Queen quest, and you help Miss Psycho with the Snow Queen quest, you help her get through that. Then, you know, you see some of her growth and stuff like that, and how Miss Psycho helped her when she was younger. She goes into Persona 2, becomes a photographer with Maya and them, and then she starts having like even more development throughout that game. I don't want to spoil it too much, but yeah, I think she deserves to be an S tier with Maki and them. Brown is a step below Mark and Nanjo in my opinion. Brown is weird to me too, because playing Persona 1, it just, I don't know, like the optional party members honestly just feel like they're kind of there. I don't know, like I don't have anything to say about them. Like, you don't see their growth as directly in the game. Like, if they're not a part of the main party, like Mark, Nanjo, Maki, Yukino, and like, I mean, hell, even Ayase isn't that good in terms of like writing, but I don't know, like, you just don't get to see that much. Like, what you see is okay. Now I'm putting him down to C tier, because like, it's kind of like Naoya to me, where like, you don't really get to see that much. But what you do see is like, it's okay, besides like really weird moments that he has, which I'm not going to talk about, but if you know, you know. So he's kind of like just average. Ellie, on the other hand, I think Ellie is a case where, with Persona 2 in mind, she became a lot better. If it was Persona 1 just in mind, she'd be like probably B tier-ish, maybe A. But with Persona 2 in mind, I think she's easily S tier, because Persona 1, you get to see her, she's like a very formal student, very formal person. She wants to be seen as mature and formal. She has and her interest that she has in like quote unquote weird things, like she's interested in the occult, she's interested in boys and stuff like that. She kind of forces herself to not talk about that stuff, but when she does allow herself to talk about it, it's cool because she has a cool personality. She speaks in sporadic English. She has insight into the, you know, lore of the game. You know, she explains some things about the occult and she finds interest in it, which I think is kind of unique. Like, everyone else is, you know, flipping the hell out, and she's like, oh, isn't this so cool? We're fighting shadows. We're in a different world. This is so cool. So I think, honestly, I think Ellie's really cool. And then Persona 2, you see that she became a model. You can choose to go down her route if you wish. I didn't go down her route, but it was really cool to see her growth throughout, you know, the two games. And I think that's why I would like to see modern Persona try to, you know, approach doing like direct sequels more, you know what I mean? Like I want to see the cast interact with each other. That's why Persona 4 Arena is my favorite spinoff. You get to see the Persona 3 and 4 cast interact directly, and I think that's just dope as hell. Like I really do. I love that. So hopefully, I mean, I don't know why I'm saying hopefully. We're probably never gonna see it again, to be honest, but hey, a man can dream, right? Oh, Ayase is like, it's the same thing. Like I can only beat a dead horse so much. It's just Persona 1, I feel like she didn't get her character didn't get elaborated on much, and what's there honestly isn't even as engaging as the other characters. She's just like kind of unremarkable, to be honest. I don't have anything to say about her. Reiji is like Reiji, okay, here's the thing. Reiji in lore is really interesting because Reiji is meant to be Kandari's brother. He is Kandari's, you know, brother. That is awesome. But yet again, Persona 1, they just don't elaborate on it that much. Like you don't, it's just like, this is the problem with this game for me. Even though the characters are really good, you don't get to see that much of it. And it's so infuriating, which is why I think Persona 1, if they decide to remake it, I think it could benefit from a modern day remake, as long as they don't change, you know, the formula too much. So again, Reiji, not much to say there. Just, I mean, he's there, you know what I mean? Trish, I'll put her in the list. She's not as bad as them, but she's all right. Miss Psycho, same thing. Chihiro, same thing. Yosuke, same thing. Maki's mom. Like, I can't rank these characters. Like, they're so irrelevant. In fact, we're just gonna name it like irrelevant tier. No, not irrelevant. Like, we'll name it like not important. Lol. Cool. Not important. These characters, like, you can't even elaborate on these characters like that. You really can't. Like, these side characters, like Nikolai, you see him for literally 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And I will say, Nikolai was a real one. Nikolai was a real one. He tried to stop Kandari. I respect that. I actually really do respect that. I actually fuck with Nikolai, not gonna lie. Aki is like the evil version of Maki's subconscious. Mai is the nice version of Maki's subconscious. Yamaoka is literally there for like maybe 2 minutes, if that. He acts as a sacrifice for Nanjo. That's cool. I respect that. Maki's mom, yet again, I mean, she's fine. Yosuke, I mean, what am I even supposed to say about him? Chihiro is Maki's best friend. Ends up being the owner of Karma Palace, which is cool. That's actually a pretty cool premise. You know what? Fuck it. C tier. She's all right. I mean, she's actually a pretty cool boss, and I think it highlights a really cool part of the game for Maki and the party. So actually, she's not too bad. I respect her. Miss Psycho, basically non-existent. She's a good teacher. I'll give her that. She's a nice teacher. I'll give her that. Trish is just a scamming fairy that extorts you for heals. She's kind of a bad person, but at least she's not like poorly written like these two. I think that's another one of Maki's friends. I think these are also Maki's friends. I think, maybe. Ooh, Kandari. Okay, yeah. Kandari is like the main bad guy, if you ask me, of Persona 1. He's kind of the main bad guy. It's a little bit hard to explain, but Kandari actually is an okay villain. I don't think he's kind of weak for Persona terms, but he's okay. His ambition is to end the world. We don't really get to learn why until later, but it is interesting because even like during the Snow Queen route and stuff like that, you get to see his doubts about his ambitions and motives and stuff like that. So if you do the Snow Queen route, you get more insight into him on that regard. And then once you make it to Kandari around the mid game or like late game, like pretty late game, you get to see like how his motivation is just waned. Like he's gotten what he desired. His motivation is just totally gone. You defeat him, you make him realize his ways of his, you know, or his selfish, wicked ways, and then he accepts that he was a bad person and he moves on. Now, Persona 2, when he comes back and he's like basically the same thing, that's also hard to explain because his persona is Nyarlathotep in Persona 1. So that explains a lot, actually. If you played Persona 2, his persona being Nyarlathotep, that actually explains like a lot. But I don't want to talk about Persona 1 and 2's entire story today. But Kandori, short and simple. Let's not make it too complicated. He's all right. He's okay. Okay, now we go into Persona 2. Persona 2 is very interesting because almost every single character, honestly, if you came to me, you were like, Jan, I think Ikichi is a GOAT character. I think Maya is a GOAT character. Ulala is one of the best characters in Persona. Baofu's one of the best characters in Persona. I'd be like, dude, honestly, I can actually see where you're coming from. Like, Persona 2's cast, people talk about Persona 4's cast and Persona 3's cast and Persona 5's cast and stuff like that. But Persona 2's cast, honestly, I think Persona 2's cast might actually be the best cast. I think every character in that game is really well written. And starting off with the first male character of the GOAT tier is Tatsuya. Tatsuya is by far and away the best written protagonist in the series. It's not even close. Even with Persona 4 Arena, even with the adaptations, yeah, even I'd say even with like the mangas, the anime, the live stages, Tatsuya is the best written Persona protagonist. I really think that. Tatsuya's whole ordeal is that an innocent sin is, how do I even go into this? Innocent sin, you get to see his like stoicism. I think that's how you say it, stoicism. His kind of like dejected attitude. He has like no real hope for the future. He doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, stuff like that. So then throughout Innocent Sin, he becomes closer with all the cast members, like Maya, Lisa, Akichi, even Yukino to an extent, Jun, obviously. You get to learn more about the Masked Circle, which is like one of the craziest things ever. Then he fights fucking Hitler at the end of the game. They fight Hitler. Then the end of Persona 2 describes his innocent sin, and the Persona 2, now that he's not the protagonist, goes into his eternal punishment. Innocent Sin shows what his folly was at the end of Innocent Sin, and Eternal Punishment shows what his punishment for that sin is. I'm not going to spoil it too much because I know not everyone has played Persona 2, but if you have played Persona 2, you'd probably agree with me. Tatsuya is probably the best written protagonist in the series. I don't think it's even close, actually. Like, I'm a Persona 4 glazer. Like, I really glaze Persona 2 every chance I get. But even I can't say like, yo, Narukami is way better written than Tatsuya. No chance, no chance. Even Ayase, honestly, if I were to order this, like really order it, I would probably put Tatsuya above Ayase. Actually, I really would. So Tatsuya, I can't give enough praise for, man. He is so well written. One of the greatest characters in Persona history. Lisa, I really love Lisa. I do. I think she's actually a really charming character. Actually, I'm going to put her up to S. Because Ellie and Lisa I have kind of similar feelings with. They're both very charming characters. Lisa is of like half American descent, but she can't speak English. Her father and her moved to Japan in appreciation of the culture, so they're like reverse weeb. No, there are just weeaboos. They're just weebs. So Lisa has this like rumor, or like, I guess not stigma, but this like, I'll just say rumor. There's the rumor that she can speak English, but she actually can't. She doesn't have many friends. She's not accepted by a lot of the school. So in her younger years, she did a lot of, I don't know, how do I even explain it? Misguided things? I think that's a good way to say it. Misguided things in her past that she probably regrets, but that's kind of like a main thing of Persona 2, like regret, sin, things you've done wrong, but moving forward with those things regardless. So not too much to say about her. I think she's really funny. I think she's actually one of the funniest characters in Persona. Actually, I really think she's fucking hilarious. Like her mannerisms with her speaking patterns, her randomly saying things that just make no sense. The dynamic between her and Akichi is just so charming. I love Lisa. And speaking of Akichi, let's go ahead and put him right in here. I would say Akichi's right next to Lisa for me. I think Akichi, honestly, is one of my favorite characters in Persona. Top 10? Nah, top 10, I don't know, dude. There's so many characters. But Akichi is a real one. So his goal is to be a musician. He wants to become a superstar. He wants to, you know, rock on, dude. You know, he's got this interesting design. He's got the metal choker. He's got the crazy hair, stuff like that. He's got that rock star vibe of like the, like 2000, like year 2000, or like early 90s maybe, or late 90s maybe, early 2000s. You get what I'm trying to say, right? But his personality is so charming. He's like such a fucking loser. And I mean that in the best way. He's a loser in the best way. There's nothing I don't like about Akechi. He canonically is like one of the nicest people I've seen in the series. Like, he is so nice. He's super understanding. He just wants the best for everybody. Like, if somebody's in trouble, Akechi is on it. Akechi is really wanting to do it, even if it comes at the cost of, you know, his own health, at the cost of, you know, whatever it might be, the cost of him. He doesn't care. He wants to help people. And that is super admirable, man. Akechi is a real one. I love Akechi. Jun? You know what? Jun is kind of interesting for me, because realistically speaking, I think he is pretty good. I really do. I think he's pretty good. But for me personally, he's on the same tier as like Nanjo and Mark. And that's because when you get access to Jun and he's involved in the main storyline, by the time you get access to him, the story's like almost over. Like, you're very far into the game. But everything that's alluded to with him up to that point in the game is amazing. In fact, I'm going to put him at the top of A tier. He is very good. I love him. I love his character. I don't know how to explain it without spoiling it, but he's very interesting. I don't know how to say, because I'm trying to keep it spoiler free. I'm just going to say he's a very interesting character. And if you play Persona 2 Innocent Sin, then you'll probably find him as interesting as I did. That's all I'll say. Okay, now we move into Eternal Punishment. Maya. This is hard. Go tier or S tier? Is she better written than Maki? Maybe. We'll put her in GOAT tier for now. Maya is a very upbeat character. She's probably one of the most goofy characters in the series, and I mean goofy in a good way, obviously. Goofy, charming, loving, really optimistic. What I love about Maya the most is how optimistic she is. She's the most optimistic character in the series by far, like even more than Fuka, I'd say. She is so, like, I don't even know how to explain it. She's just so, like, you could be in the worst situation ever, and Maya would be like, let's think positive, you know, let's not think the worst things. Let's focus on the good things. Let's focus on what we can, you know, deal with. Even if things go bad, we'll be there for each other. You know what I mean? And that kind of character I always have an affinity for. It's why Fuka's #1 on my list. I love Fuka. I love Maya for basically the same reasons. And in terms of writing, I think Maya is just about as well written as Maki. I'd put Maki and Maya on about the same tier. I don't know, Ayase, Tatsuya, I don't think she's that good, but she's not far off. That's why she's in the same tier as them. Goofy ass outfit, great personality, great writing, not much more to say. Ulala is about the same as them, honestly. Like, Ulala is Maki, or not Maki's, but Maya's best friend. She has this thing where she drinks, she wants to find someone to be with. She's kind of similar to Maya, where she has this real eccentric personality. Eccentric is a perfect way to put it. She's super eccentric. She's upbeat. She's got this kick-ass mentality. Like, if you go into the shadow, or if you go into a fight with shadows, I think in the English version, she literally says, like, I'm gonna fucking beat your ass, or something like that. It's actually kind of crazy. Yeah, I actually don't have much to say about her, but I actually really like her. Katsuya, I'm gonna put Katsuya and Baofu in at the same time. Baofu, I'm gonna put, they're both really good. Oh, this is tough. Do I put them in GOATs or S? I don't know. I actually don't know. Okay. I'm gonna put Baofu in goats. I don't know about Katsuya. I'm gonna wait on it. I'm gonna put Katsuya in S, Baofu in goats. Why did I put them both at the same time? It's because similarly to Mark and Nanjo, they bounce off of each other. They both lift each other up to new heights. Baofu is of the underworld. He does wiretapping. He does illegal methods to get the job done. Katsuya is a detective. He's very by the books. He does basically the exact opposite of Baofu. So them on the same party trying to achieve the same goal, they never see eye to eye. Even at the end of the game, they never see eye to eye. But the difference is from the start of the game to the end of the game, they start to understand each other more. They start to see eye to eye. They somewhat see eye to eye. They don't ever agree on things, but like they can understand each other. So Baofu can understand why Katsuya does things the way he does. Katsuya can understand why Baofu does things the way he does. I think that's awesome. I think that is a great dynamic. I think it's every time they've done it, it's been great with Mark and Nanjo, Katsuya and Baofu, to an extent, Maya and Ulala, Akichi and Lisa. Like, it's just such a good dynamic. Like, they in Persona 1 and 2, they did this perfectly. Like, they did it so well. They're just so well written. And then Baofu has moments at the end of the game that are just so heart touching, like pulling on your heartstrings, man, where he's confronting his shadow. I'm not gonna spoil it, but he's confronting his shadow and he accepts his past. Just such a powerful moment. And man, what a good character. And Katsuya is basically the same thing, where he has a love interest with Maya. Like, canonically, he's interested in Maya, and I think that's awesome. I think that's so interesting to actually have a character like directly express their love for the character that they're, you know, interested in. I think that's awesome. So yeah, Katsuya and Baofu, really good characters. And then yet again, like, these are just so many characters that are just so pointless. Like Chief Todoroki, I believe that's his name. He's okay, cool. Tamaki, I think that's his name. I don't remember what this dude's name is. Miyabi actually is kind of like the same thing as Chihiro. Miyabi is Akichi's ex-girlfriend from middle school, I think. Over the years, she gained weight, but what was goated about Akichi is that even after Miyabi gained the weight and stuff like that, he didn't care, bro. He was like, yo, you might be a little bit bigger or whatever. You might be, you know, whatever. I don't care. I love you for what's on the inside. And that was just so fucking goated. So Miyabi, I'll put her a little bit higher. What was her name? I don't remember, bro. I really don't remember what her name was. It was like Mariko? I don't remember. She's not there for that long. This guy was in Persona 1 as well. He was like basically pointless. He didn't contribute much. I forget what his name is though. I can't remember. These are all rumor mongers. I know that. This is Jun's dad, Kaori. I think that's her name, Kaori, or Saudi, something like that. Toudou, I think that's her name. This girl is a part of Tatsuya's additional scenario in Persona 2 Eternal Punishment PSP. She is not very well written, I don't think. She kind of makes that scenario, I don't know how to explain it without spoiling it, but she's just okay. She's like, all right. This girl is just ridiculous. In fact, I want to put her down here low-key, but we'll just put her. Should I? I don't know, because like, dude, she appears for such like a short amount of time, and when she does, it feels so random that it's annoying. Like, it's actually kind of annoying. So actually, fuck her. This guy is one of the bosses of a Persona 2 dungeon, important for oh shit, I accidentally scrolled down. Important for Akichi's growth, so I guess I'll put him in C tier as well. He has some importance, maybe. Nah, fuck it, he's not that important, dude. Fuck that. Principal Hanya is dog shit. Dude is so annoying. This girl is there for like 2 seconds. She has a name I can't pronounce. This is Jun's mom, I believe. I don't remember if she's too important. I'm trying to remember. I think she has a shadow form somewhere. I can't remember. I'm just gonna put her not important for now. This girl also is important for Yukino's growth. Her name is Anna. She also plays a role in the Tatsuya scenario. So I get, you know, we need another tier. We actually need another tier. We need another tier. We need a D tier. We're gonna put characters like this in there. So like her, the leader, we'll put him there. Yeah, we'll do this. Yeah, I feel a lot better about this actually. We'll do this, move them up. We'll do that. Yeah, we'll do that. So yeah, none of these, by the way, none of the characters in D tier are necessarily badly written. It's just they either contribute like very little or they're just like whatever, you know what I mean? So not that bad. This guy is fucking not good, really. No, this is Jun's mom. This is Jun's mom. This was another person. This was fucking this is Kandari's like girl or something. I forget. She's like basically the same. She's actually kind of like whatever. She's whatever. These guys aren't unimportant. I'm gonna put both of them in C tier. They're like two of the main villains of Persona 2, but they're not. They're like the definition of not interesting. Like I really couldn't give two shits less. Like they have like the exact same name. Is his name Tatsuo? Tatsuo maybe? The guy right here that I have my mouse on, you can see, I'm gonna zoom in on it for you. That guy, he's okay. Like he's actually kind of interesting. I think he's got an interesting personality. He plays a very important role throughout Persona 2, both Innocent Sin and Eternal Punishment. So he's not bad. He's okay. This guy, like he's just like the most nothing character to me. Like I really don't feel much for him, but he is important. He does play a very important role, so I respect that. C tier. This guy, he might look the exact same as this guy right here, right? That's not a coincidence. This guy is a fucking menace to society. This guy is probably the most threatening boss I've seen in Persona. Like he's basically on the same tier as Nyx. He really is, in terms of how like threatening he is to the world and lore and stuff like that. This guy ain't no fucking joke, bro. This guy is insane. He's like the embodiment of pure evil. I mean, we could sit here all day and talk about him, but he's just insane. He's very interesting to me. I really enjoy him. Persona 3 now. Wow, we got through Persona 2 pretty quick. Maybe this video won't be as long as I thought. Editor's note, the video was indeed as long as he thought it would be. I guess we'll start with Portable. We'll do Portable, why not? BMC is gonna be a solid A tier for me. Kind of the like pro tags and Persona, even though actually I'm gonna bring Makoto up there with her. They're like the same for me, right next to each other. Wherever you put them, they're gonna be the same for me. They both approach the themes of Persona 3 and how they wanted to approach it like very well. FemC is the more upbeat, joyful, hide your depression with happiness type deal. Makoto is the wallow in your empathy, don't try to hide it, just be, you know, depressed as hell. Both of them are really interesting, but they're silent pro tags. They don't offer that much to really talk about. They're pretty good, not much more to say. Rio is like, Rio is cool, but there's one thing I can't forgive her for. It's like, why are you interested in fucking Kenji, bro? Like, are you serious? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why Kenji of all people you could choose? Why him? Like, are you tweaking? Like, her character arc is fine, but like, girl, what are you doing? Oh my goodness. Saudi is actually goated. Like, she's a really good social link. I actually really enjoy her social link. Saudi probably has like the most miserable life ever. Literally every rank is just her getting shit on over and over again. She's doing basically nothing wrong. She has no friends. And then by the end, not much is resolved, but I mean, you definitely do help her. You know, you give her some solace. You show that she has people there for her until March 5th of 2010. Then she doesn't have people there for her, but I digress. Really good social link. It's just a roller coaster of emotions, man. Okay, Portable is done. That was very quick. Portable. Akutsuki is F. Akutsuki is fucking dog shit ass villain. Fucking horrible ass villain. Sucks fucking balls. I don't care if he contributes a lot to the lore. He really does. He contributes to creating seas. He contributes to a bunch of stuff. Like, he really does. He does research on the Abyss of Time, on Shadows, stuff like that. But he's just so dog shit. He is so fucking poorly written into the story that by the time he is revealed to be what he is, he's fucking terrible. By the time he's revealed to be the traitor, it's just like I'm rolling my eyes into the back of my head and I'm just done. Like, I'm fucking over it. Seriously, terrible, terrible character. I don't even know if I gotta say anything. Like, I'm not even saying anything. Yukari, easily one of the best characters in Persona, by far. One of the best written, one of the most interesting, intertwined with the story perfectly, has amazing growth throughout the answer as well. She's fucking the whole reason the answer exists. Really realistic emotions, really realistic feelings of regret, really realistic character just in general. Like, seriously. She's a very lovable character, really well written, lovable personality. I mean, like, seriously, what else do I gotta say? I wrote fucking hour and 8-minute analysis, I think it was, on her. Fucking amazing character, goated. All right, it's getting hot as fuck in this room, so I'm taking my hat off, so y'all get to see the scalp. But where we left off, Junpei Iori. Similarly to Yukari, just like I said for like Persona 2, Yukari and Junpei bounce off each other really well. Not as well as the other characters, but they stand on their own, like, even better than the other characters, in my opinion. Junpei probably has, I'm not gonna say the most realistic, but maybe the most interesting growth out of maybe any male party member in the series, honestly. The way he goes from being apathetic, hopeless about life, to meeting Chidori. Through the power of love, he starts finding his way. He decides to live on for Chidori, stuff like that. He stops being a pervert like he was at the beginning of the game. I think it's interesting because Persona usually has like these quote unquote weird moments. I don't know why I said quote unquote, just weird moments, to be honest. But Junpei has these like weird moments of like Yukari, where he's like, hey, can I look up your skirt during the first full moon? It's like, yo, we're gonna kill you with hammers, bro. But then by the end of the game, he doesn't do that anymore. And it's really cool to see that because it shows that he's grown up from being this like horny teenager with like no ambition for the future, no growth, no nothing, to growing into like one of the most mature characters of Persona 3, especially if you put the answer into the equation, where he was actually being the voice of reason during the discussion with the keys. So he goes from being this, you know, lonely guy, not many friends, kind of looked down upon, doesn't care about himself, don't care about his own life, to being basically the opposite by the end. Like, he stops being a pervert toward people. He grows internally. He becomes more mature. Like, really interesting character arc. I really, really like Junpei's character arc a lot. Akihiko. Okay. If we're including Reload, which I think is fair to do, I don't think he's S tier. I don't think he's on the same tier as these characters up here, but I do think he's a solid A tier. I think he's a good character. The way he grows as a character alongside Shinji, the way he grows after Miki's death, and the way they elaborated on it in Persona 3 Reload, I think it's interesting. So Akihiko goes from being blinded by strength, only caring about his own personal strength, to care about those, or to protect those around him, to proving to, or not proving to himself, but coming to the realization that strength cannot solve his problems. his blindedness to his strength caused all of his issues. He could not focus on the people around him as much because he was focused on himself and his strength, which led to him neglecting Shinji, which led to Shinji's inevitable demise. So after that, he grows, he learns that he shouldn't be just focusing on his own strength anymore, awakens to Caesar, and then he, helps Ken through his own awakening, which I think is honestly really cool. So especially with the fact that Shinji was like, yo, can you take care of Ken for me? Make sure he's okay. Don't let him go down the same path I did. Akihiko's like, sure. And then he's like, he lived up to that promise. He made sure Ken was okay, helped him awaken his own persona, which led to them finding the power to fight Nyx at the end. So yeah, Akihiko, actually a pretty underrated character, I think. I think Akihiko's actually pretty good. Mitsuru is very similar. I have very similar feelings to Mitsuru as I do Akihiko. I think Mitsuru is better written than Akihiko, but I wouldn't say she's like a tier above or anything for me personally. The thing I find interesting about Mitsuru is that the way she develops as a character, even though she's seen as like this rich, preppy kind of girl, you know what I mean? Like she's seen as the perfect girl. Even by the community in some ways, she's seen as like this perfect girl, can't do any wrong. She's so like smart, she gets good grades, she comes from a rich family. She's gonna take over the Kirijo group someday, which comes very soon. I think it's interesting how she's written alongside that, because she doesn't, during her social link, you would think it'd be like doing anything else other than going to fast food restaurants, going to movie theaters, like things that, quote unquote commoners would do. I think it's interesting to see Mitsuru, quote unquote, put herself down to that level, which is kind of frowned upon as someone who's the daughter, or as the daughter of a massive, group like the Kirijo group. I found it fascinating that she was interested in learning how normal people are and doing that alongside the protagonist and everything. And then, her character arc throughout the main story, with her getting closer to Yukari, the death of her father, her losing her will to live, Yukari helping her through that. Then you go to the answer, where she decides to fight alongside Yukari. I think it's actually a really, really good character arc. I'll put her up to S, maybe. Yeah, fuck it. We'll put Mitsuru up to S. I think Mitsuru is actually really good. She deserves to be up a little bit. Great character arc. Interesting character arc. One that's not really been replicated that well even today. Like, even with Haru in Persona 5, which we will get to. I love Haru as well. I think Mitsuru, the way they approached her status was a little bit better, in my opinion. Koromaru is the GOAT. I don't really know if I need to say too much about him. B tier, very solid, goated character. Love my boy Koromaru. Ken is, I made a video about him as well. One of the most overhated characters in Persona. Not nowadays. I feel like people have grown to appreciate Ken as a character, but back in the day, dude, him and Yukari were on the damn chopping block, man. Oh my god, it was like everywhere you went, it was just hate for those two characters. It was like, Ken got my boy Shinji killed, or Yukari is mean to my boy Junpei, she's a bitch, whatever. Stupid complaints, man. Ken is honestly very similar to Junpei in some ways, where, he goes from being, instead of being like perverted or whatever, and, like that, his immaturity came from his desire to kill Shinji to make up for his mom. Now, why do I say that's immature? I'm not saying it wasn't valid. It's very valid to, feel that way. I don't blame him. But I say immature because obviously even he himself, as a 10-year-old kid, knew it was impulsive. It wasn't the right thing to do. His mom wouldn't want it. He didn't really want to do it. But he decided to go through with it anyway. That's the immaturity I'm talking about. The immaturity and impulsiveness of Ken. That was his folly at the start. Ends with Shinji dying, which wasn't directly by his choice. Maybe he would have done it, maybe he wouldn't have, but either way, we don't know. He decides to keep living on for Shinji. He grows. in that regard, and becomes one of the most mature characters in the series. Not in the series, definitely not in the series, but in Persona 3. One of the most mature characters in Persona 3. So yeah, really good character. Overlooked, underappreciated, all the things. Oh, speaking of Ken, we got Shinji, my boy Shinji. Okay, Shinji, here's the thing. Shinji, before Persona 3 Reload, would have probably been down here in B tier, probably. But with the linked episodes, honestly, you could argue him to be S tier, and I wouldn't even argue it, honestly. I really wouldn't. Me personally, I'm going to put him in A tier because I don't think he's as well written as the S tier characters, but his impact is gigantic. I made a video on Shinji as well about how he contributed a lot more to the story than people realize. He had an indirect or even, you know, just outright direct contribution to everyone's growth, like directly to Akihiko, obviously, but indirectly to, like, you know, Fuka even. Like, Fuka had a very, you know, big impact because of Shinji's passing. His death was very impactful, and the time you have with him, you learn some interesting things. You get an interesting perspective on regret, death. Contributes to the themes of the game perfectly. Just a fantastic character. Love Shinji. Metis is a very, very, very clear-cut B tier for me. I think Metis is actually very likable. I think she's pretty funny. She's got this goofy personality. She's got this childlike, you know, mentality to her, since she's the alter ego, if you will, of Aigis. Pretty cool, pretty cool. The thing is, there's really just not much to say about her. Like, I promise I'm not yawning because I think she's boring. But there's really not much to say about her. Yeah, I mean, that's it. She's cool. I like her. That's about it. Oh, now we go into Strega. Okay. I think Chidori, solid A tier, right alongside my boys. Chidori is the crux of Junpei growing as a person, growing as a character. Chidori herself actually has a really interesting piece of growth with her, where she initially is on the path of Strega, where she don't give a shit if she dies or not. She's apathetic. Pain doesn't bother her. The thought of death doesn't bother her. But as she finds something to live for and care for in Junpei, and Junpei does the same with, you know, Chidori, you know, you get to see her becoming more fearful of death because she doesn't want to lose Junpei. She has something to live for now, but she's forced to fight against him and, you know, her own wishes, because she's just so scared of, you know, the unknown and what might come with stepping into that territory. And it's tragic because the moment she decides to do that, well, we all know what happens from there, right? But Chidori, super interesting character, actually. I really enjoy her character a lot. I really like Chidori. Jin is a... Jin, man, Jesus. I mean, what do I even say about Jin? Like, I actually am yawning because I think this dude is so boring this time. I think Jin is an absolutely nothing character. Let's say you took Takaya out, okay? What does Jin contribute to the narrative besides just being Takaya's lapdog? I get it, that's his purpose, but that doesn't mean it's interesting, man. Jin is just there. He's only there to gas up Takaya. He's like, Takaya has better things to live for than me or you. He's got better things to accomplish and this, that, and the other. It's like, okay, I guess, but I mean, I don't know, man. He's just kind of there for me. Takaya himself, kind of similar to Metis, where he is actually a really interesting character. Strega all have this common theme of being experimented on for persona experiments by the Kirijo group. They're tragic characters in that regard. But the problem is they don't get elaborated on enough. We don't get to see these, you know, laboratory experiments. We don't get to see how they reacted to it, how they changed about it, how they were before the experiments. Like with Shinji in the linked episodes, we got to see like a slight glimpse into how he was before he accidentally killed Ken's mom. But we don't get to see that for something like Takaya, which is the main antagonist of the game besides Nyx. So that was a huge missed opportunity, but they do pose a good threat to the group of Cease versus Strega, the Persona users wanting to fight for humanity versus those who do the opposite. Interesting dynamic, not a bad character, just not great. Okay, now we go into the social links. Persona 3 does not have my favorite social links. We're starting off with, by far, one of the worst social links. He's right down here with the Gourmet King. I'm going to put them next to each other because they suck balls equally. Kenji ruins a teacher's life, does not grow from it whatsoever, wastes my fucking time, and he's annoying. He's not a good friend. Literally, I hate him. I don't want to talk about him. I just hate him. Someone I don't hate, though, is my boy Odagiri. Odagiri, not one of my favorite social links. He was kind of middle of the pack for me, but I think he's quite interesting. Odagiri, at the start of his social link, is a uptight kind of prick guy. Harasses a student for the lighter incident, but by the end, he's like, yo, like, dude, this is not cool. This is not what we should be doing. I'm not going to sell my friends out. I'm not going to sell Makoto out, aka the protagonist of Persona 3 out, to the board, because I know he's not the one that's, you know, doing the lighter incident. I trust him. And then he decides, you know what, we're done with the student council. I'm going to try to become a teacher and lead the next generation forward so they don't make the same mistake I do. Very admirable. Odagiri, W Odagiri. The old couple, I think they're an A tier. I think A tier, man, because they represent the themes of the game so well. They represent, you know, the loss of a close one. They represent, you know, regret. They represent being stuck in the past, and the protagonist helps them, you know, grow past their son's death and accept their son's death, and they can see the future that they have left, and, you know, the future that their son forged for the next generation. You know, they can see it all in a better light, which I think is so heartwarming to see that represented, because that's not represented a lot in Persona, honestly. At all, really. I think the old couple in Persona 3 is basically it. So, yeah, very good social link. Kaz is... See, this one's tough for me, because Kaz, as a character, I think is fine. He has noble ambitions. He wants to keep a promise to his cousin or his nephew, I believe it was. Probably his nephew. It was like, yo, if I win the championship, you can go through with therapy and be happy about it. So he was prioritizing the wishes of his nephew over himself. But the thing is with Kaz's social link that bothers me is the choices that you're supposed to make. Persona 3 has this issue in general, where throughout the game, you're forced to make these shitty decisions during the social links that no one should ever make. Like, for Kaz's social link, to get the maximum amount of points, you have to encourage him to keep fucking up his knee. Is that not insanity? Like, oh my goodness, man. But Kaz himself is fine. Middle of the pack, he's just okay. Alrighty, Chihiro, my girl. Going right next to Odagiri. I have kind of similar feelings toward Chihiro as I do Odagiri. Obviously, their character arcs are very different. Chihiro has a fear of boys. The protagonist helps her through that. Then there's a sub-story in that character arc, or social link more like, where she's accused of stealing money from the treasury, I believe it is, the treasury board. She finds the courage and strength to go confront them herself by her desire to be with the protagonist and stuff like that. Not very deep, not the most interesting to me at all, but it's okay. Pretty decent social link. Maya is another social link that sucks. I don't feel like talking about it. Just, it's not good. If you want to hear about it, go to my social link tier list. It's just not a good social link. Scott the Waz is a solid C tier next to Kaz. Nothing wrong with this social link at all. He has this, you know, vehement, I guess you could say, disdain toward being a doctor, because that's what his dad did, and he doesn't know if that's truly what he wants to do. You know, he's in the art club, maybe he wants to do art, maybe he wants to go down a different path than his dad did, and people are forcing him to go down this path of his dad. But he, you know, slowly realizes that being a doctor is truly what he wants to do. He wants to help people. Not a bad character arc, just not the most interesting. Yuko, as someone who's also studying athletic training, is my GOAT. I'm going to be very biased. I'm putting her in A tier. Very biased, not going to lie. So Yuko initially is one of those kind of people where it's like, oh, you know, we got to focus on the present more than the future right now. You know, we're in high school, we got to have fun and stuff like that. But, you know, throughout her socialing, she starts realizing the error of her ways. She wants to become an athletic trainer. She helps some kids become fast enough to beat the 6th graders, like 3rd graders going against 6th graders at the playground. Very admirable, very relatable story. That's why I have a signed Yuko print. I show it off all the time. I'll put a picture of it on screen right now. I love my girl Yuko. I'm also going into athletic training, so it's like 2 birds, 1 pot. You know what I mean? 2 birds, 1 pot. Wow, that made no sense, did it? But either way, Yuko's goated. All right, New Day, continuing the tier list. Ryoji is easily one of the best antagonists in the series, if you ask me. S tier at least. I'm not going to put him in GOATs because when he's there for a really short amount of time. But, I mean, he's there for a month, maybe? I think like a month. If you include Reload, he's got the linked episodes. That gives him some more screen time. But the lore with how it's like... he's like the internalized shadow of Makoto while also being a part of Nyx. He retains Makoto's personality. He kind of retains his emotions and stuff like that. Like, he's the embodiment of death with the growth of Makoto inside of him, which is super interesting to me. He's easily one of the most interesting characters of Persona 3, even though he's there for a very short amount of time. He's one of the most memorable for sure. Definitely deserves to be an S tier. Maiko, another one of the GOATs of Persona 3. I think she's going to be the first social link to be our S tier. Yeah, because Maiko is such a good social link. Her social link goes over the relationship with her parents. She feels like her parents are getting divorced because of her, so she blames herself. She tries to run from home. It's like, oh god, it tugs on the heartstrings every time, because you get to see her blame herself for it. She starts like crying. She's like, yo, my dad's kind of a piece of shit or whatever. Very heart-wrenching, very heart-wrenching social link, really good. Ryoji is a solid B tier, or not Ryoji, Pharos, sorry. Pharos is just a worse version of Ryoji. He shows up after every full moon. He tries to give insight. It's not that interesting. He's like, hey, did you know it's almost a full moon? You know, we're getting closer to defeating all the shadows. And then he disappears and becomes Ryoji. And that's when Pharos actually becomes good, when he becomes Ryoji. Other than that, Pharos is mid, not that bad, not that good. He's just whatever. Bebe, same kind of thing, B tier. Not crazy, not bad. His social link goes over his fascination with Japan. His aunt dies, the aunt that supported him in his dreams to come to Japan to learn more about the culture. He decides to come back home and support his family. Not bad, just kind of random to be honest, but not bad at all. Tanaka, F tier. I've talked about this in my social link too. He's just a piece of shit. I don't care if he's funny. I don't care about none of that shit. He's just a terrible person. He's a scammer. He's scamming people in Persona 4. He's scamming people in Persona 5 even after being cracked down by the freaking police. Terrible social link, terrible person, terrible character, just F tier, terrible. On the other hand, a character that is not terrible is my boy Mutatsu, one of the most underrated social links in Persona. So Mutatsu's social link is about him using alcoholism or being an alcoholic to escape his problems. He ran away from being the owner, not owner, but the head of a shrine. He was not very good of a person. He neglected his family a lot. He drinks to cope. He hasn't been in contact with his wife or son in a long time, but the protagonist reminds him of himself when he was younger and his son, which helps him to realize the error of his ways. He's being a deadbeat dad. He doesn't want to be a deadbeat dad anymore. The protagonist helps him figure that out. He goes out of his way to find his wife and kid, and they, have a good life after that, which is great. Good social link. Ayase is very similar to Yuko for me, where I know how it feels to really be competitive. You want to win, but the reasons he wanted to win were very different than what I would want to win for. He wanted to win to support his family, right? He thought, oh, I can go to college. I got a lot of people supporting me. I can go to college, or not college, but I can go to school, get scholarships from the school, support my family in that way. But then he's like, well, my mom's doing all this work. I can't let her work herself into the ground anymore after literally putting herself in the hospital from overworking herself. So Ayase is like, okay, I'm gonna put aside my pride. I'll put aside the track team for now. I'll do what I have to do. I'll go get a job and I'll help support my family. And he finds a way to continue, you know, pursuing his track team goals by his work buddies, starting up a small track team, which is very wholesome actually. It shows that Ayase doesn't have to solely rely on himself anymore to fulfill his dreams. He can slowly fulfill his dreams by other means, by the help of others, which is all what Persona is all about. So fantastic social link, honestly, very underrated. Akinari, GOAT tier. Don't even debate it, GOAT tier. Defines the themes of Persona 3 perfectly, defines the themes of Persona in general perfectly. Goes from him being apathetic about life. He has an illness that is going to take his life someday, and that someday coming up real soon. He can't do much without being ill. He can't really walk very well. He can't talk very well. He often has coughing sprees, illness just slowly taking him over. But the protagonist helps him through his apathy. He's like, man, I don't know what I want to live for. No one understands me. I feel like no one in my position has anyone to look up to. So he decides, I'm going to continue writing a novel. I'm going to write a children's book, not novel, children's book. This can give hope to the next generation of, you know, people that come after me to continue living their lives and look forward to the future and show a message that, you know, the alligator and the, I forget what the other thing was, but it's the pink alligator and the bird, I think, something like that. They come together, they, you know, the alligator accidentally eats the bird, I believe, and then the forest turns beautiful with their sacrifice. It shows an interesting side of the human psyche, if you will. And Akinari is just, I could go on and on, but Akinari, man, I can't even talk. He shows the themes of the game really well. He's just a lovable character, and the ending of his social link is just heart-wrenching. GOAT tier social link. Might be one of the only social links in GOAT tier, honestly. Natsuki, similarly to these characters in D tier, she's not bad by any means. I actually quite like Natsuki, honestly. She bullied Fuka. She didn't have much hope for the future. Fuka helps her find her reason for the future, to keep going for the future. Natsuki helps Fuka do the same after a while. It's a really interesting story in the sense that they both helped each other so much, but obviously Fuka had more development, she had more screen time. Natsuki ends up having to go home because her family can't afford to live in the Gekkoukan High area anymore, so she has to move away. And she gives that really good message where it's like, well, even though we're, you know, separated by distance, especially in the modern era, we can, you know, stay friends. We can always care about each other. I'll always care about you. So Natsuki is actually a pretty good side character. I like Natsuki. Toriumi is, I'm just gonna put her there as well. Fuck it, I don't want to elaborate on it, but she's just whatever. The Mayodo shopkeeper, not important. The pharmacy owner, not important. He's goated too, not important though. Officer Kurosawa, I'll actually put in D tier because he does play a role in Akihiko's linked episode, and he gives you all the weapons and shit like that at the police station. So he plays an important role actually, but not that interesting. Same thing with Mitsuru's dad. Mitsuru's dad is actually really goated. He wants to pay for everything his lineage has done for the shadows. He wants to save mankind. He somewhat wallows in his apathy. He finds the strength to carry on so he can, you know, help the human race survive. He ends up sacrificing himself to save Cease, and then that lets Mitsuru go through with her development. So Not a bad character, just not that important. And we have now finished up Persona 3. Holy shit. That is sick. All right, Persona 4. So starting off Persona 4 is, of course, our boy Yu Narukami. Now, if we're not including any of the spin-offs, or not spin-offs, but any of the additional media, like the anime, the manga, and stuff like that, even if we're just including the games, Narukami is still the best pro tag, and actually, I'm putting him in S tier. Now, you might wonder, what makes Narukami so much better than, you know, Makoto or Kotane or, you know, whoever else? Not as good as Tatsuya, but modern Persona, I think Narukami is the best protagonist. Well, it's because in the spin-offs of Persona 4, like Persona 4 Dancing, Persona 4 Arena, stuff like that, he actually gets to have a personality. Holy shit. It's almost like giving the protagonist an actual character and not a self-insert blank slate is better for the game's development. So you can have the character develop that you're playing as. I don't think Persona needs silent protagonists. I don't think it needs it to succeed, as evident by Persona 2, where they do like a pseudo silent protagonist. Persona 4, where they give Narukami more spotlight in the spin-offs. Why didn't they do that for the Persona 5 spin-offs? Give Joker an actual personality, let him speak, and the games would have been even better than they are. And that's not to say the Persona 5 spin-offs are even bad. I like the Persona 5 spin-offs. We're going off on a completely different tangent though. Narukami is probably my favorite protagonist because, as evident by the actual spin-offs, not so much the main game itself, he has a really charismatic personality. He's actually funny as hell. He's super goofy. He has moments in Persona 4 Arena, like when he's fighting Elizabeth in Persona 4 Arena. He's like, Elizabeth is like, yo, are you trying to hit on me? And Narukami's like, no, you just reminded me of someone I know. And then his internal dialogue is like, okay, that really sounded like I was hitting on her. And that's awesome because you get to actually see what he's internally thinking instead of just being like, haha, that's what I would say in this situation. I don't give a shit what I want to do. I want to know what the character himself would do. I don't care what I want. I want what he wants. You know what I'm saying? Oh, God. But Narukami, charismatic, funny, actually has a character in the spin-offs. So he's easily my favorite character, protagonist-wise, of the modern Persona games. And definitely deserves S tier. Yosuke is so weird for me because, like, one day I would put him in S tier and one day I would honestly put him in B tier. So just to round it out and make it like the law of averages, whatever. There's no law of averages, I don't think, but just to average it out, I'm gonna put him in A tier. He's probably my least favorite bro character of the series. I don't think he's bad, but there's just these certain moments of Persona 4 where he'll come through and he'll say something like really weird, like, I don't know, like how he'll talk to Kanji, and like he's always making fun of Kanji, right? But he never really feels sorry about it. You know what I mean? I'm not sure if this is a product of the localization. I'm not sure if it's a product of whatever. I think Yosuke is a good character though. I think he has really good moments, especially in Arena, actually. Actually, you know what? Just for Arena, I am gonna put him in S. Arena, if you've played Persona 4 Arena, his route in Persona 4 Arena is actually better than Narukami's. I think it's better than Labrys's. I think it's better than Elizabeth's. I think Yosuke actually has the best route in Persona 4 Arena. His route is him going through the P1 Grand Prix. He has really funny moments in that. Then as you lead up to the final battle against Shadow Labrys, he actually, I'm not gonna say what happens because I don't want to spoil it, but the moment that happens near the end of his route in Persona 4 Arena is the greatest moment in the game, period. I'll let y'all experience it. Maybe I'll make a video on it. I would actually really like to make a video on it now that I'm thinking about it. But Yosuke would be A tier if it wasn't for Persona 4 Arena. With Arena in mind, S tier. Like I was saying, the stuff he says about Kanji is kind of like, it's just weird to me, man. Like, he's your friend, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think you should say that about your homies, you know what I'm saying? But he is a good character regardless. I'll put him in S tier. Chie is... I don't think Chie is as interesting as Yosuke or Narukami, but I do still like Chie a lot. The thing with Chie is she doesn't really contribute much to the investigation, but she brings this really interesting dynamic to the investigation team that really isn't fulfilled by anyone else. So she brings the kind of comedic relief, if you will. She brings the upbeat personality. She, has this kick-ass mentality. Honestly, not much to say about her. Her social link is just okay, where she's trying to, find the strength to fight on her own, stuff like that. She's just okay. She's an okay character. I really like Chie. She's not as good as the other two we just talked about. Not as deep, but still a really good character. Yukiko is about the same to me, but there's one thing in the game itself that makes me put her down to B tier. This might sound crazy, like, oh my god, you're putting Yukiko really low, right? Well, I like Yukiko. I actually do. I think her social link is actually a lot better than people give it credit for. Her character arc is a lot better than people give it credit for. I really do think that. I think she's actually pretty underrated. So why do I put her so low? There's a certain thing that happens near the end of Persona 4 where they're determining the culprit of the investigation. And Yukiko says something so fucking stupid at the end of the game. Two things in particular she says. First of all, the culprit was in the Amagi Inn, and she knew that the culprit that they deduced was in the inn. It's like, oh my god, the day that the first victim went missing and was killed, this very important character that has been a part of all of our investigations and has been a recurring character over and over again was a part of that. He was present there. I didn't think to fucking bring that up at all because I'm an idiot. So we could have solved the investigation months ago, but we didn't solve it because it's like, oh my god, I didn't think that the most whatever. It's just stupid. Then at the end of the game, when they're confronting the killer on the final day or one of the final days, Yukiko's like, you want to die, or living is too painful, but dying is too scary or something like that. And she's like, that doesn't make any sense, which is just a fucking insult to anyone who's ever had a single mental problem in their entire life. If you've ever struggled with depression, anxiety, suicide thoughts, any of that kind of stuff, hearing that is just a fucking insult. It's stupid as hell. It makes no sense. And then you go to Persona 5 where you have characters like Futaba who are literally in that predicament, and it's like, Yukiko, do you not know anything about anyone? Do you not have an open mind about anyone's mental health, about the problems they go through? Like, hello? Like, geez, man. If they do make a Persona 4 remake, I hope they cut that first thing out and then they rewrite that second thing we just talked about, because that shit is just unacceptable. I think that shit is terrible. But I know we just shat on Yukiko a lot, but I do like Yukiko. I really do. I don't think she's that bad. She's okay. Not great. Not bad. She has really good moments and really bad moments. Enough said. Kanji is easily S tier. He could, nah, fuck it. Go tier. Kanji is probably my favorite character of Persona 4. The way he tackled the idea of men not being able to be into girly things. He hides that with a facade of being like this tough, macho, badass, like, oh, I'm gonna fight everybody who disagrees with me or, doesn't, accept me for who I am, or, I can't, or thinks I'm not who I am. I'm this tough guy. I'm a punk. I'm a delinquent. You can't touch me. But deep down, he's into girly things. He likes knitting. He likes, making dolls and stuff like that. He works at a textile shop, which I think is really, really important to talk about nowadays, because people still to this day do not take that kind of thing seriously. So the fact that a game from 2008 took it seriously, did it in a really interesting way, and was willing to go there for that time, I think is really cool. Kanji has my favorite character arc out of any Persona 4 character. He has a really good social link. Really, just goated, man. Goated character overall. Reise is S tier. Now, when I first played Persona 4, I actually wasn't the biggest fan of Reise. I'll be honest. I thought she was kind of annoying at first. But after I beat it and I played it again a couple times, and you know, I really thought about how I felt about Reise. I thought about her character arc. I was like, you know what? Rise's actually a lot better written than I thought she was. So Reise is an idol. Her initial character arc is, ah, man, I'm an idol. I'm so miserable being an idol. I don't know who I really am. Is Rosette me? Am I Rosette? I'm Rise Kujikawa, not Rosette. You know what I mean? She has this how do I say it? Distorted image of herself where she doesn't really know who she is, which Persona 4, that's what the whole game is about, pursuing your true self. So Persona 4, or Rise in Persona 4 more like, initially she's like, yes, I'm gonna stop being an idol. Rosette's not me. But deep down, Rosette is her. She is Rise. Rosette is her. She can be an idol while also being herself, because both of those facades, or, you know, personalities or masks, if you will, are Rise. They're both her. She can be the idol Rosette and she can be Rise Kujikawa. It doesn't, being both doesn't diminish her as a person. So that is extremely impressive, or not impressive, but interesting that they touched on that, because a lot of times people with Persona 4, they'll have this critique where it's like, you know, Persona 4, you can be your true self unless, you know, your true self isn't this or that, which people seem to misconstrue the meaning of be your true self. It can mean whatever you want it to mean. So Rosette's meaning was being both Rosette and Rise. If she decided being an idol really wasn't for her and she wanted to, you know, live a normal school life, she was more than, you know, in her right to do that, because that's what she was going to do. But she decided deep down that's not what she wanted to do. She liked being an idol. She liked being Rosette. She liked being herself. But she was putting off that part of her because she felt like she had to do it. But she never needed to do it. She just wanted to do it. And that's an interesting concept to explore for accepting your true self. So honestly, Rise, I think, is pretty overlooked and kind of misunderstood, honestly. Kind of like Yukiko. Difference being Rise, I think, was a bit better approached. But yeah, I'm actually a pretty big Rise fan. I actually really like Rise. Oh my god, Teddy. Teddy, man. Teddy. Where do I put Teddy, man? Because, like, I'm gonna put him in C tier, honestly. I think Teddy is probably one of my least favorite characters, just in terms of, like, the main party members of Persona. And honestly, it doesn't even have as much to do with his writing, because in terms of his writing, I think he's okay. Besides, like, the weird pervert shit, like him always talking, whatever, I don't care. It's just weird. You either care about that or you don't. But above all else, he's just fucking annoying. You know what I mean? Like, he's just so annoying. His voice is annoying to me. He's just annoying. That's all there is to it. I really just think he's annoying. I don't really enjoy when he's on screen. I don't enjoy when he's talking. Like, I don't totally hate Teddy. There's not, like, nothing to like about him, but he's just not interesting, and I think he's annoying, man. I really do. I don't really want to talk about him. I just think he's annoying, truly. All right, well, the last party member of Persona 4, Naoto. Now, is Naoto GOAT tier? Is Naoto up here with Kanji? Is she an S, A, B? Well, obviously she's not going to be below S, obviously. So I debate on whether to put her in S tier or GOAT tier. I think, just for me personally, I think on paper she is just as well written as Kanji. I think they both tackle issues of very relevant importance. They're both really important. They both honestly become more relevant over the years. But as a guy, I can relate more to Kanji's struggle than Naoto's. It doesn't mean Naoto's struggle is less important. It doesn't mean she's less well written. Just for me personally, I can relate to Kanji more, so I have a higher fondness for Kanji. But Naoto, like I said, she touches on the same problems as Kanji, just in reverse. Naoto doesn't feel comfortable at first with being a woman because of the workforce she's going into, so she presents herself as a guy, so she's less looked down upon. But deep down, she likes her femininity. She likes being a girl. She wants to be a girl, stuff like that. So her social link and her character arc is about her coming to terms with being more comfortable with being a girl and not, you know, putting that facade of being a guy on. It's a very hot topic nowadays, but me personally, I think it was done extremely well. I know people who have had pretty similar struggles to Naoto, to say the least. You know, many people can relate to her. Many people, you know, identify with Naoto. They're like, yeah, this is a struggle that, you know, I've gone through and stuff like that. But, you know, me personally, like I said, I can't really relate to it personally, but no doubt about it, I think she's very well written. Just like I said, I think I prefer Kanji a little bit more. Nanako, GOAT tier. GOAT tier. No, hey, listen, you hear me? GOAT tier. If you do not put her in GOAT tier in your tier list, we cannot be homies. Nanako, honest to God, might be one of the best written characters in Persona history. And it's so funny because, like, you really wouldn't think it. When you first play Persona 4, you're like, oh, this 10-year-old kid, she's just like really cute, she's adorable. But as you do her social link and you learn more about her family and her struggle, and then you get to the Heaven Dungeon, it's like, it goes from this character just being like this cute kid that you want to protect and, you know, have fun with. It's like, oh, you know, let's make some cards together, let's do vegetables together, you know, like she's, you know, she's a little sister, you know, you want to take care of her. But then it's like, yo, this kid deserves the world and more, man. Like, oh god, that Heaven arc, dude. It's like, I think the Heaven arc of Persona 4 is probably on the same tier as like the third semester of Royal, on the same tier as like the end of Eternal Punishment and Innocent Sin, maybe the same tier as Maki, her whole character arc, her trying to come to terms and be strong after the passing of her mother, then the somewhat shaky relationship with Dojima, her slowly breaking down more and more as the story goes on. She ends up in the TV world. Heaven is her oh god, it's so good. I don't want to spoil too much, but those moments in Heaven and how beautiful that dungeon is, and then you hear her internal monologues, just such a beautiful moment for this character. And I already loved Nanako. Maybe I would have even put her in GOAT tier without the Heaven social link, or not social link, but the Heaven dungeon. But with that included, dude, if this was ordered, honestly, she'd be like up here, top 4. This is not going to be ordered in the tiers, but if it was, she'd be like top 5 Persona characters for me, honestly. I love Nanako, well written. I want to protect her. She's awesome and just amazing in every way. Speaking of Nanako, we have Dojima. Dojima is not quite as good as Nanako, but Dojima is like just right behind because they have similar issues. Dojima is the not daughter. Dojima is the daughter of Nanako. Yeah, that makes total sense. Dojima is the father of Nanako, so as a result, he has struggles with coming to terms with the loss of his wife. So he goes on this crazy tangent trying to find the person who caused his wife to pass, but in doing so, he starts abandoning what's right in front of him. He abandons Narukami, who is his nephew coming in. He abandons his daughter Nanako for, you know, this basically empty search for this culprit that they're never gonna find, which is unfortunate because Dojima is a good person. He wants to, you know, even if he wasn't just trying to, you know, find it for the sake of finding his wife's murderer, he would have just wanted to find it to, you know, have this culprit behind bars, period, as evident by his rank 10, where he goes and searches for this, or not searches for, he helps the local detectives and police chase after a thief. And Nanako's like, you go, dad, which is, you know, really wholesome moment. At least I think that's that's Dojima's rank 10, I believe. Just really good character, and his growth by the end with how he was ready to sacrifice his life for Nanako. It shows that even though he had his priorities in the wrong places. He was going after something that really shouldn't have mattered as much as his own daughter. By the end, it's like, yo, I'm ride or die. I'm gonna save my daughter. Even if it costs me my life, no matter what I gotta do, I'm gonna do it. It's just, he's a good dad by the end, and that's a really good character arc. I really appreciate that they were able to properly convey that dynamic of like a father in like abandoning her daughter in a different way, you know what I mean? Instead of Dojima just ending up as like a deadbeat dad that you would end up hating, he's a good guy, and you want to see him be better. You want to see him succeed for the sake of himself and, you know, Nanako. Really interesting dynamic, and probably my favorite, like, quote-unquote father figure of the Persona series. Alright, that's just about every major party member and character of Persona 4 wrapped up, so now we can go into the social links. So Naoki is easily one of the best social links of Persona 4. Not quite GOAT tier, I don't think, but if this was ordered, he'd be like near the top of S tier. Naoki almost perfectly represents the themes of Persona 4 and Persona in general. He goes from, well, first of all, let's say Naoki is the brother of Sakiko Nishi. Sakiko Nishi was one of the first victims of the TV world. So Naoki ends up holding some resentment toward Narukami and Yosuke for reasons that I won't go into too much, but Narukami, despite being hated by Naoki, just wants to truly, you know, understand and be friends with Naoki. So Naoki's kind of like, yo, like, why are you doing this? Like, you're kind of like a weird guy, but you know what? I really appreciate it. I really am thankful that you were willing to stick with me. Like, I hated you, but you were a good guy at the end, you know? I was just in a difficult place. My sister just died. I've been ridiculed. Everybody looks down on me. But you were the only one that was willing to see eye to eye with me. You were willing to hear me out. You were willing to, you know, see me in my weak moments and accept me for that. And you were able to help me cope with the passing of my sister. And that is just so powerful. That is such a powerful social link. Then rank 10 is like you're at the riverbank and you just let him have his moment where he's like finally able to get over everything, and he's so grateful to you, the protagonist, aka Narukami, for being there for him and defending him and being his friend and everything. Like, you as the protagonist, or you as Narukami, was the only one that really accepted him for who he was. Like, you didn't take this blind blanket approach to him. You were like, oh, we should feel sorry for him, he lost his sister, what a pitiful guy. He didn't want to be looked down upon like that, and you were the only one that didn't do that. You saw through the facade and you accepted him for who he truly was. He came off as kind of like an asshole, but by the end you're like, yo, like, he was just a kid going through a loss, like a traumatic event, and nobody would hear him out. So like, it perfectly represents the themes of Persona 4. It perfectly represents the themes of Persona in general. So for that reason, honestly, he's one of the best social links in Persona, and maybe I'll put him in GO tier, maybe. But for now, we'll leave him in it. We'll leave him in S tier. We'll do this. We'll do the sports team members together. I think the sports team members are okay. They are above average social links. I think Ko's struggle is with his family. He's got a rich family. If I remember correctly, they don't entirely support him on his basketball endeavors. They don't really want him to do basketball. If I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've done this social link. He's not sure if he should continue doing basketball or not. But by the end, you help him understand that it's okay. Like, you can play basketball, you can, you know, be who you want to be, and that's totally fine. Great. Daisuke is kind of a similar thing. Daisuke I remember a lot more vividly because I've done his social link more. Daisuke is a part of the soccer club. He is reluctant to put himself in a relationship with a girl, and he's reluctant to be vulnerable because of a past experience with a relationship that didn't end as well as it should have. But after getting some help with Ko and the protagonist, he's able to apologize and, you know, come face to face with that girl that he had a, you know, small falling out with. He's able to look forward and be vulnerable. He's able to look forward to the future with the support of Narukami and Ko, and they all just get to, you know, have this big tight bromance, which I think is really cool. So not too deep of characters, but really good, represents the themes of Persona 4 well, and just fun social links. All right, next social link is the old lady, aka Death. Now, I see a lot of people say this is like one of their favorite social links, and I can actually see why, but I would probably put her around the same tier as like Ko and Daisuke. Her social link is about the passing of her husband. She's kind of like isolating herself. She kind of blames herself for the death of her husband, because I believe she says something like, man, I wish my husband would pass, or, you know, I wish I could be alone, or something like that. And it actually ended up coming to fruition. So she isolates herself, and she's pretty willing to just go out on her own and just pass on her own, you know, without quote unquote bothering anyone. But after talking with the protagonist and stuff like that, she gets comfortable with the idea of going back and living with her family. So you basically save her for the rest of her life, which is very noble to do. So not as deep as, like, let's say Naoki or Nanako's social links or Dojima's social links, but a good social link, really good social link. The Fox is like, where do I put him in not important or D? I guess we'll put him in D. He doesn't deserve to be not important, but I mean, he's just a fox, you know what I mean? Like, I can't really talk about him too much. The nurse is not a very good social link. I think it's like, she's kind of like the same thing as, like, is she as bad? I don't know. Is she as bad as Tanaka? Is she as bad as Kenji? I don't know. Maybe not. But the thing is, even if the social link with how she approaches Narukami, right? Even if going with her quote unquote advances hurts the social link, the fact she's doing it at all is kind of like an eyebrow raiser to me. I get that it hurts the social link if you go with it, but the fact she's doing it at all is kind of just an eyebrow raiser to me. Other than that, like, even if you disregard all the weird stuff with that social link, it's just not even that interesting of a social link, in my opinion. Her social link is like, oh yeah, nobody, you know, I'm doing this and that, and eventually I end up being one of the best workers. I'm working myself to death, and then, oh, I'm gonna go to Africa to help kids there. It's like, okay, cool, I guess, but I don't know. Like, the pacing of the social link is kind of weird. The story itself isn't that interesting, so one of the rare cases where I'm really not a fan of the social link. I'm really not. Ayane, I honestly, I can't remember Ayane's. Like, I know I did it, but I honestly can't remember much about it. So even though I definitely have done it, I guess I'm gonna put it here because, like, I really don't even know what to say about it. It's been so long since I did that social link that honestly I don't even have any comments to give about it. So yeah, I guess we'll just move on to Yumi. Yumi, I do remember. Probably B tier. Not a bad social link. It's just like one of those things where the pacing of it is just so random. It's like the first few tiers, you're in the drama club, you're acting, then her mother collapses, you help her get through, you know, the death of her mother, and I mean, that's basically it. It's just like the pacing is kind of all over the place. The story itself is okay, but not that interesting in comparison to the other ones. Just like kind of a mid-tier social link, mid-tier character. Not terrible, not crazy, just kind of just there, you know what I mean? Kind of just one of them social links that are there. Ebihara, I made a whole video on it. Ebihara is one of the most underrated characters in Persona 4, one of the most overhated characters in Persona history. Her whole social link is about her putting on this facade of, hey, I'm gonna be this mean girl type character. I'm gonna put on this facade of, you know, I'm the baddest bitch in school. I'm the, you know, hottest girl in school. I'm the most pretty girl in school. I'm better than everyone. I have more money than people. I have more, you know, better look. I'm better looking than everyone. I'm better. Just, she has this complex where like, I'm just better than everyone. But deep down inside, it's all just a facade. She doesn't really want to be this mean girl. She doesn't want to do all this, but it all comes from her past where she was bullied for being overweight. That gave her a negative self-image. She had low self-esteem. So to cope with that, she gave herself this superiority complex, if you will, where she lost the weight, very admirable. Then she was like, well, I'm hotter than y'all, I got more money than y'all, so now I'm just better than y'all gotta respect me, you know, I'm not what I was anymore, y'all can't make fun of me anymore. But deep down, that's not even who she really is. She doesn't want to have this mean girl facade, so she decides at the end of the day, you know, this isn't who I am. I'm gonna try to find who I really am, because I don't even know who I am. I really don't, because I've had this facade for so long. I haven't really been able to explore who I am, and the protagonist helps her through that. So really good social link, really underrated character, one of the best of Persona 4 easily. If you're interested in hearing more, I had a whole video for it. You can see that at the top right of the screen now if you want to hear that. But yeah, Ebihara, super underrated. I love my girl Ebihara. All right, my boy Shu Nakajima is next. I don't know exactly where to put him, because I think he's underrated, but I don't know if he's that good. I'll put him in A tier next to Ko, Daisuke, and the old lady. I think I think Shu is actually underrated, because I feel like most people haven't even done his social link. You have to have max knowledge to do it, and you also have to start it at nighttime. So you have to get pretty far into the game, and I feel like a lot of people would just forget about it, honestly. And if you do it, the first few ranks are kind of slow, and he's kind of annoying in the first few ranks, which is the point. I'm not saying that, you know, derogatory necessarily, but he is annoying in the first few ranks. He's like, are you really that smart? Because I need a tutor who's gonna, you know, help me. I'm not planning on going to your shitty school. I got way better plans for that. But as you go on, you realize, you know, his superiority complex, if you will, toward his grades and his academic performance comes from this expectance from his parents to do that well. They have really high standards for him, and as a result, he ends up cheating on his test to do so. He ends up cheating to keep up with the standards that his parents have for him, which is an interesting premise, because that is an issue in Asian culture. China, Japan, you know, these Asian places where your grades mean a lot, especially with the family. It's a real, you know, thing that people have to deal with. So having that represented, and then the resolution where it's like, you know, I don't have to sacrifice my life to have these high grades. You know, I can be, you know, an actual person. I can, you know, have friends. I don't have to look down on people for having lower grades than me. I can, you know, do extracurricular activities if I want to. I can go out and talk to people. I can live my life without having to study every waking moment of my life just at the books, and having my worth as a person be attached to the grade that I get. And then at the end, he's like, I don't have any friends, man. Like, I don't have, like, it's my birthday coming up. I don't have any friends. So you, alongside the investigation team, throw a party for him, which is super wholesome. It's one of the most underrated moments in a social link, that rank 10, because they're like, listen, dude, you gotta just stop. Like, stop demeaning yourself. Stop looking down on yourself like this. You know, we're your friends now. We're gonna throw this party for you. We're gonna be your friends, and that's that. And you really helped Shu come out of his shell. Instead of him being this pretentious prick that only cares about grades, he's like, dude, like, you're like, thank you. Like, you are a really good friend to me. You've been a good friend to me. I'm gonna go out, try to do my thing. Maybe I'll try baseball. Maybe I'll try making more friends. And he does so, which is really admirable. So Shu, actually a really underrated social link. I actually enjoy his social link a lot. All right, finishing up the social links here. Well, not entirely, but finishing up like the non-important social links, if you will, comes the Yuta's mom. I actually don't even remember what her name is now that I'm thinking about it. Eri? Is that her name? I think her name's Eri. Eri's kind of like Yumi, where it's a good premise where, you know, it's a mother. She's been abandoned basically by the father. She's trying to raise a son that doesn't really like her too much at the start. She's a stepmom. It has a stigma around that. Is she a bad mom or not? As the social link advances, it's like, oh, Yuta actually cares for her. She cares for Yuta, the kid. And then, you know, they go on and live their merry way. It's just like super unremarkable to me. Not that interesting, if you ask me. It's just kind of like whatever. Yeah, I really don't have much more to say than that. Then Marie is very interesting because some people put her in GOAT tier. Some people would put her as literally the worst character in Persona history. She's so bad, she's terrible, not a single good redeeming quality about her. I don't think she's that bad, and I also don't think she's that good. I think she is not as bad as Teddy, but she's not very good to me. The thing with Marie is that she herself isn't that bad. I don't think she's like that annoying. I don't think she's really that poorly written in a nutshell, but it's more so how she's implemented into the story. So Persona 4 Golden, she's just implemented as a social link you do on the side. Then after doing her social link at the end of like the Adachi section, it's like, oh, you know, Marie's gonna go on her own. You know, she's gonna try to be forgotten because of her true identity. And then you go save her, and it's like, oh, cool. Like, this is all cool in premise, but it's just the way she's implemented. I really don't like the way she's implemented because she's just implemented in the social link. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that. People complain about how Kasumi in Persona 5 Royal was implemented, but at least they tried to implement her into the actual story more than they did Marie. Marie really felt like she was just kind of like, shoot in, here's a social link, and if you do the social link, you can get an extra dungeon. I mean, cool, I guess, but it doesn't really change the ending of the story. It doesn't really, it doesn't add that much to it. So she's like, okay, not my favorite. I don't really hate her, but I don't love her either. Namatame is going to be in D tier, but Namatame is actually a good character. I actually, like, for as little as you see him, I think he's actually really, really good. He plays an important role in the investigation. He cooperates with you. He's the crux of one of the most important moments of the game during that, you know, investigation on, what is it, December 3rd, I believe it is, where the investigation team confront him in that hospital room, because at the time they thought Namatame was the culprit, but it turns out he wasn't. He was being manipulated. And then by the end of the game, once, you know, his mental states recovered and everything, he's like, dude, like, let's like try to make some good in the world. So for Namatame, for how little you see him, is actually pretty damn good. I actually like Namatame as a character. He's just not gonna be in the same tier as like these characters up here. Adachi is also one of the characters where it's like, some people think he's GOAT tier. For me, I'd probably put Adachi in just S. I think Adachi is an interesting character. He's like the parallel to Narukami. If Narukami grew up and didn't meet the investigation team and didn't have like Dojima and Nanako and stuff like that, maybe he would have ended up like Adachi. It's possible. It's the yin to the yang. That's why in Persona 4, the Golden Animation, they have a song, Yin Yang. They're the yin to the yang. Adachi's like the evil version that uses the power for bad. Narukami's the version that uses the power for good. Adachi awakens to the power of Persona and has the wild card, but can't really use it because he has no bonds. He doesn't have the power of friendship to push forward, which is why he's ultimately defeated in the end. But the way he's like, yeah, I was just bored. I had no reason to really live. So I used my power of Persona for evil. I killed anybody who I wanted. I did whatever I wanted. And that was that. It's pretty interesting in itself because we don't really have a villain like that. Because most of the villains have some sort of motive, like a really deep motive. Like Takaya's motive to end the world is because of his the result of the experiments from the Kirijo group. Persona 5, all the villains have their own motives, albeit, you know, however, you know, quote unquote cartoonish you want to call them, they have their motives. Persona 1 and 2 villains have their motives. Persona 4 Adachi is just like, yeah, dude, I just wanted to do it because it was fun. Like, that was all there was to it, which is interesting in itself. So Adachi's a good villain. Excuse me. Adachi is a good villain. I like him, and I think he adds a very interesting dynamic to Persona 4, and I mean, he's probably the most important character of Persona 4, so yeah, good character. All right, final character of Persona 4, Izanami. Gonna put her right next to Adachi. Izanami is like yet again another like yang to the yin of Narukami. Narukami's persona is Izanagi. Izanami is the opposite, or not the opposite, but Izanami was the wife of Izanagi. It goes all into the lore of Izanagi and Izanami, and like, you know, all that stuff. I can make a whole history lesson here, but I'm not going to. Pretty decent villain. Actually, I'm gonna put it down to A tier. I don't think it's as good as Adachi, but Izanami is a good villain. Goes back to the lore of Izanagi and all that. Very good, very good, not bad. So Persona 4 wrapped up. Yeah, Persona 4 characters very high, actually. Like S, like a bunch of S tiers, couple goats here, you know, high A's, you know, couple B's. Like, very few characters are like where I would consider them to be kind of like weak or just like whatever, you know what I mean? So very respectable showing for Persona 4. And now we head into Persona 5, and there is a lot to talk about here. But oh Lord, Persona 5. Okay, we'll start with Joker. Joker is, again, about the same as, like, you know, Makoto or Kotane. They're good. You know, wherever one of these are, I'll put them next to him. Joker has a bit more personality than the other ones. Joker is more eccentric, more, you know, joking, I guess you could say. More joking. Like, he's probably even more goofy than Narukami in a lot of ways. Just in terms of the games themselves, like the mainline games, if we're not going to count Persona 2, then I think Joker probably is the best protagonist. But even then, like, there's not that much to talk about with him. He is pretty well written for what he is. He is very important to the story, obviously. Everything centers around him. Not a bad character by any means. He's just a silent protag, man. He's all right. Morgana, I'm honestly not even going to elaborate on it much. Just kind of the same thing as Teddy. Morgana definitely ruined the Okumura arc, just in general. Poorly written in that section of the game. Other than that, he's just annoying. Like, whatever. It's fine. Now, Ryuji, my boy Ryuji, GOAT tier. By far my favorite bro character of the series. I also have knee problems, so I can relate to his struggle of not really being able to run for the track team, even though he really wants to. I can understand that because my knees are pretty fucked up too. I get knee pains a lot more often than I probably should, but that's just how it is. Then on top of that, Ryuji is just a ride or die. Ryuji is constantly, hold on, let me adjust the camera a little bit. Ryuji is just, there's not a single moment in the game where Ryuji is not a real one. But when Makoto is getting, you know, taken by the mafia, he's jumping in front of taxis to save her. At the end of the game, during Shido's arc, he's sacrificing his life to do that. During the Maki arc, he's doing, you know, he's the first one there to save, you know, Joker and them from getting hit by an attack. At the beginning of the game, Ryuji's ready to sacrifice himself for Joker so he can escape from the shadows. During the Madarame arc, he's, you know, first to step up and be like, yo, let's protect An from, you know, this potential stalker. Like, every single second he can be goated, he's goated. Then he's got a good social link where he tries to bring the track team together and he finds his way. Then, I mean, like, he's just so goated. He's funny as hell. He's a good guy. And I think he's pretty well written. So yeah, he definitely deserves to be in GOAT tier. My girl An is next up. Gonna put her in S tier. An is about the same as Rise for me. I probably like Rise a little bit more, but An, I kind of like her for the same reasons as Rise, where she's not so much not sure of herself. Like, obviously she's not totally sure of who she wants to be, but her social link revolves around her trying to become a model and trying to be like a, how do I say it, like a figure for, you know, girls in the model industry and the, you know, magazines that she's going to be in. Very admirable, kind of similar to Rise in that regard, where she's being a model and helping the next generation. Then at the start of the game, with like her friendship and, you know, character dynamic with Shiho and the way she grows from being Kamoshida's, you know, lapdog or whatever, being forced into coercion by Kamoshida. She stands up for herself, you know, forces Kamoshida into submission, makes him apologize. Really good character arc at the start, has a good social link, has really funny moments. The way her and Ryuji interact is, you know, like that brother-sister dynamic that I've talked about a few times now, that's really heartwarming to me. Yeah, On, one of my favorite characters of Persona 5, honestly. I really like On. She brings a good dynamic to the game that I really enjoy, and I like her bubbly personality. Very good character. My boy Yusuke, S tier or GO tier, not too sure which. I think I'll just leave him in S tier for now. Yusuke during the Madarame arc is probably, I think the Madarame arc, I was already locked into the story during the Kamoshida arc with On's story and Ryuji's story, all that stuff going on. But I feel like the Madarame arc, honestly, I feel like it gets overlooked a little bit. But with how Yusuke was introduced, with how he decided to stand up for his own art against Madarame and stand up for all the students that have been plagiarized against, his awakening is amazing. One of the best awakenings in the game, maybe one of the best awakenings in the series. Then his social link is really good. His social link is about his art block. He's not really sure what he wants to make art about, so you help him in that, you know, expedition of trying to get his art block, you know, go through. At first you go to Mementos, he just takes a painting of it and it's like, oh, this is Mementos, you know, nobody's gonna know what this is. And it's a good painting, it's actually a good painting, but he's not really too satisfied with it. You know, he's being pushed around by this one like art director kind of guy. Then in an attempt to find his way with art, you do a bunch of goofy stuff with them, like you go to the church with them, you go on like a romantic sea, you know, you go on the lake with them, and by the end he makes a painting of like Mementos in his own way. Like, it's not just what Mementos looks like in physical form, but how he envisions the human psyche and like human emotion and stuff like that in a painting. It evolves from the start to the end, which is really cool to see. Then if you include Strikers into the mix, the way he interacts with the second jail is really good. He's like, yo, this book has like no meaning to it. There's no passion behind this book. And with how AI art and stuff like that is becoming more prevalent, stuff like that, you know, hits pretty hard. I think Yusuke's character arc is good. Good awakening, good character, funny character, charming. Nothing bad to say about my boy Yusuke. Nothing bad. Alrighty. Next up, Makoto Nijima. Now, Makoto, I kind of feel similarly to as Yukiko, but I think Makoto is a little bit better. Now, the thing with Makoto, I don't think she's like really bad at all. Like, there's really nothing she does that I don't like. There's nothing that she does that's offensive. There's nothing that she does that I think I would say, yo, this character's like terrible. She's so poorly written. Some people say she's like, oh, she's so boring. She's not that interesting, you know, whatever. Like, I get that. But even me, as someone who's not that big of a fan of Makoto, I can be like, you know what? I think she's just kind of, she's okay. Like, she's kind of just there. Sort of like Chie, where she brings this interesting dynamic to the party. She's this, you know, student council president who is who tries to seem all upbeat, or not upbeat, but I guess uptight maybe. Professional, doesn't show her emotions too well. She's not very good at showing her emotions. So her confidant, not social link, her confidant is about her trying to find her emotions via a friend she makes. I think her name is Aiko, maybe Aiko. She helps her through her thing, and she starts finding like her emotions and stuff like that. Then throughout the story, she's, you know, constantly doing that as well. Not a bad character. I like her. Not bad. Not too remarkable. Just okay. Futaba, I actually like a lot. some people, like, again, some people are like, oh my, you know, Futaba's annoying, or, you know, the gamer leak speak is annoying or whatever, which I can, you know, I understand to an extent. But the thing is, really think about it. If a girl in the modern era, or not a girl, just, you know, a chronically online person in the modern era had no friends, was a shut-in, and was online all day long, realistically speaking, they probably would develop some sort of like cringe speaking patterns. Whether it's, you know, like the leet speak Futaba does or something else, they probably have poor social skills, which is what her social link, or not social link, confidant is all about. Her becoming more proficient in becoming social. When she first joins the Phantom Thieves, she tries to become more social with the beach trip, and I don't know if they call it anything, but like when they're all going to her room and she's coming to Joker's room, they're all introducing each other to her. She's completely closed in. Like, she doesn't feel comfortable showing herself. She doesn't feel comfortable being around other people because she's been shut in her whole life. She doesn't have friends. She doesn't have social skills, which is something I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. So yeah, I think in that regard, Futaba is really interesting because it's something that a lot of people in the modern era can relate to. Like Persona 4, when that was made back in 2008, you know, Persona 4 and before, a character like this, like, I'm not going to say they wouldn't have existed, but they wouldn't have been as, I guess, prevalent back then because the internet wasn't as accessible back then. But, you know, Futaba in the modern era of like 2016 or so when the game takes place, that would make sense for a character to, you know, go through that struggle, which is a unique struggle that is, you know, unique to the modern era, and it's good to see it represented and in Persona. Oh, you know what? We might have a GOAT trifecta here. Haru, Akechi, Kasumi. I think we have a GOAT trifecta here. I really do. GOAT fucking trifecta. Bink, Bink, Bink. We'll start with Haru. Now, is Haru the best written character in Persona? Not really, no. Is she overshadowed in her own arc by Morgana's whole bullshit? Yes, that is Morgana's fault. I'm just saying, not hers. Is she shafted by being a late stage party member? Yes, she is. All these things are true. But the thing about Haru is that just personality wise, I just love her personality so much. Like the way she has these sporadic, like kind of crazy moments, the way she's super formal at the same time. She's super like, her voice actor is great. Her, like, she's just so charming. I don't know how to explain it. I just, similarly to Fuka, I just have a good, like, she's kind of like a comfort character for me as well. You know what I mean? She's not necessarily the best written character of Persona 5. I wouldn't say that, but I just love her a lot. Now, who would I say is the best written character of Persona 5? Well, I think in contention are both Akechi and Kasumi. Akechi in base Persona 5 wasn't great, I'll be honest. If this was base Persona 5 and not Royal, Akechi would probably be in B tier next to Marie or something like that. But if we are putting Royal into the equation, which we obviously are because Kasumi is in the list as well, we're going to take the Royal version of Akechi as well. Now, I don't think Akechi and Royal is perfect either, but they made him infinitely more interesting. You get to, during his confidant, you get to get more personal connecting time with him, which makes the dynamic between him and Joker more powerful. Then you go into the third semester content of how, you know, he comes back to freaking life and he knows he's probably gonna die doing what he wants to do, but he's tired of living by other people's rules. He's tired of living the way he has been. He wants to take his life in his own hands, even if that means ending his life and not going with this ideal reality where he would be alive, but it wouldn't be under his own terms. Even if it's something that he deep down would like, he doesn't want that to be the case. So Akechi is just so good. We could talk all day about Akechi, but I don't want to make this video 800 hours long, you know what I mean? Akechi is very good. Kasumi is the direct opposite of what I was talking about with Marie, where Kasumi is not just a social link on the side that you get, and then you get a dungeon with her. Like, I don't like the way they did that with Marie. But the way they did it with Kasumi, albeit definitely not perfect, there are, you know, flaws. It makes the pacing a little bit iffy sometimes, but they tried to implement Kasumi into the story a lot better. they implement Maruki into the story a lot better, which we will get to him soon. Kasumi's character is basically, without going in super deep detail, it's kind of like Maki's character arc, where, you know, she's running away from the past, her cognition is a little bit altered, she's not really sure who she is, then by the end she understands what she's been doing wrong. She's actually Sumire. Her sister Kasumi died. She has survivor's guilt. She forgot who she was as a coping mechanism. And with the help of Joker and the other Phantom Thieves, she accepts her role as Sumire. She understands that Kasumi would not want to see her in this position. So Kasumi, very good character. I'm trying not to make the explanations too long anymore, because this video is already super long, so I'm not going to try to talk too much. But yeah, Kasumi and Akechi, really good characters. Akechi is goated. Kasumi is like a Maki reference, and Maki is goated. Haru's like a comfort character for me, so I love them so much. You know what? Sojiro could be GOAT tier, but I'm going to put him in S next to Futaba. Honest to God, Sojiro, about the same reason I like Dojima, except Sojiro just straight up was goated from the very start. Never was a bad dad. And at the end of the game, when the Phantom Thieves are like, you know, the bounty's out for him, and Sojiro knows who the Phantom Thieves are, he's like, yo, you know what? I don't care. Like, I'm not gonna sell you out. I'm not gonna tell anybody about it. I'm gonna keep doing what we've been doing. Just lay low, and we'll try to figure things out. And even when his shop is being raided by the fucking cops, he's like, dude, y'all know this is illegal, right? Like, I'm like, you're not gonna win. Like, we are gonna win out, right? It's just such a real one, man. His social link is great with how he's trying to defend Futaba, and, you know, he starts appreciating you more. Like, at first you're like, oh, he's a criminal. Like, Joker's a criminal. I'm just gonna take care of him for the year because I kind of see myself in him. I want to see him do better. And then Sojiro's like, man, I was supposed to be the one like taking care of you, but man, like, you helped me, you helped Futaba. I can't thank you enough. So yeah, S tier easily. Same reason Dojima was up here. Love him. Love Sojiro. Oh wow, okay. We already got the main party members done. So now we can head into the confidants. So Chihaya is pretty good, not bad by any means. I think her her confidant is a bit underrated, and it's only underrated because shit, I mean, basically no one's done it. Nobody really took the time to do it. But Chihaya's social link with how she's the fortune teller, she tells your fate. Joker, on the other hand, takes fate into his own hands and then opens Chihaya's mind up to the fact that she doesn't have to be stuck by the fate that cards have dealt her, if that makes sense. So she takes fate into her own hands. She gives you the money back that you spent to talk to her the first time, and then she confronts this one guy. I forget exactly what the premise of it was, but she confronts this one guy, takes life into her own hands, and then helps people like take fate into their own hands. So she's actually a good social link. I actually really like Chihaya. Not a bad social link or confidant at all. Y S tier yet again. Y is one of the better confidants of Persona 5. In fact, I've said this a lot. I think Persona 5 on average has the best confidants or like social link equivalents in the series. They're all like, on average, they're really good. And Y is a former Yakuza member. He's trying to get intel on something. Then his son, what's his name? Is his name Toudou? I actually can't remember what his name is. It's something, his son gets dragged into it. Joker starts helping him through his family issues. Joker's a ride or die, and Y confronts the guy that he's going against, and they it's all hunky-dory after that. I'm dumbing it down a lot. Like, I know it sounds kind of funny the way I'm describing it, but yeah, Y is super good as well. Love his confidant, love his character. He's one of the characters that subverts expectations. You expect him to be this hard-ass, you know, criminal type guy, but he's not. He's a good guy, good ambitions, good motives, takes care of his family, wants the best for his son, and his son is a baller by the end. You help him, and he's like, you're like a part of the family at that point. So yeah, great confidant. All right, my girl Takumi, yet another S rank. or yeah, S tier character. So Takumi, her confidant is about her trying to develop a medicine so she can help this girl. I forget what her name is, but she's trying to help this sick little girl. She's been denounced by the medical community. I think she's called the Black Death, or like Black something like derogatory. She's been, kind of quote unquote denounced by the medical community. She opens up a local clinic. She's kind of doing her thing, helping out the locals. Regardless of what people see about her or say about her, the locals appreciate her because of everything she's done. Then she ends up actually developing the medicine for her. She's okay. The kid ends up being all right. And it's all because you did the experiments with her. You let her experiment with you on the drugs, which is very, very shady, but it ends up working out. Takumi is a great person, cared a lot about the kids, cared a lot about the locals, just wanted to help people, and she did so in her own way. Great confidant. Kawakami is... I'll... A tier or S tier? Which one? I think I'll put her in S. Honestly, I think I will. Kawakami's confidant, and the reason I'm going to put her in S tier because I think her confidant is interesting for a couple reasons. First off, her confidant is interesting because of the Becky stuff. She's trying to work herself. Like, if you disregard what the profession is, being a maid, if you really think about it, think about the reason she's doing it, think about what led up to it, think about all this, that, and the other. Her being Becky is all so she can pay back these kids. If I remember correctly, if memory is serving me right, Kawakami was the tutor to a student, and I believe this student ended up either passing away by like an accident, or they took their own life or something like that. So Kawakami ends up being blackmailed by the parents of this student, so she becomes Becky to pay for it. Joker ends up finding her, and Kawakami's like, oh man, my life's probably over, I'm a terrible teacher, this, that, and the other. Joker helps her through that, changes the hearts of the parents and mementos. Then, what I find the coolest thing about Kawakami, besides like all that, is the end of the game. When Joker is imprisoned after either the Maki arc or after the Yaldabaoth arc, depending on which game you play, she is in the teachers lounge with all the teachers, and she's making a plea to the teachers to stand up for you because you're a student at the school. And Kawakami's character at the start of the game, she was kind of like everyone else. She kind of looked down on Joker. She didn't think Joker was going to be a good student, thought he was going to be a delinquent. Kawakami fell into that trap of judging a book by its cover. So after Joker helps her through her issues, she does the opposite. She's like, well, I mean, what kind of teacher am I if I'm not going to have faith in the students? Like, I lost my way at the start. I'm not going to do it again. So let's help. I'm going to convince the teachers to make a plea for Joker, sign this petition so we can get Joker out of jail. And she makes the plea by saying, like, what are we? Like, we're teachers, but we're not going to stand up for our students. And I think that is amazing because teachers, especially in the US where I'm at, are very underappreciated. They're underpaid, underappreciated, overworked, but the work they do is so valuable because if a teacher truly cares about a student, you can change their life. I've had teachers in my life where I got in trouble a lot in school. I didn't do very well in school for a while, not because I couldn't do it, but because I didn't care at the time. So I had teachers that made me want to care, like teachers that called me out on my actions and made me realize that like what I'm doing isn't good. So seeing that represented in persona with Kawakami, with how she initially was writing Joker off, then the two of them they become closer as friends and teacher and student, and then Kawakami at the end of the day stands up for Joker. Great confidant. I love her confidant so much. I love her character. Great character. I love her. Ouya is kind of like Chihaya. I think I like Chihaya a little bit more, but not enough to like put her higher or lower. Ouya's confidant is a journalist friend of her passed away mysteriously. Ouya thinks it was planned or like it was a intentional murder, but she doesn't have any proof. She's on the case to go solve it. Joker kind of helps her through that, and I believe she does end up, she either ends up, God, it's been so long, I'm gonna get flamed for this. She either figures it out or she just kind of moves on. I can't remember exactly what she does, but I remember just playing the social link and I was like, you know, it's not terrible or anything, but it's not really stand out. It doesn't really stand out in comparison to, like, say Kawakami or Takumi that we've talked about. Not a bad social, or not a bad confidant, just kind of like unremarkable, because I can't even remember the ending of it. But yeah, not bad, not terrible, just kind of average, kind of like eh. Shinya is kind of the same thing. He might, like, I think Shinya is probably better than Chihaya and Oya, but again, not like enough to put him up a tier. So Shinya is a kid who wants to be seen as like more mature than he is. He's really good at a video game he plays, and he takes the losses he has personally, because that's kind of all he has going for him in his life. His relationship with his mom isn't great. Then you help change the heart of his mom. He becomes more mature. He doesn't take the game as serious, and he takes other things more seriously. Like he values his friends more, I believe. And I believe he takes school more seriously, I believe. See, this is the thing with some Persona 5 confidants like Chihaya and Oya. I can't really remember the conclusion very well because it just wasn't as memorable to me. And granted, it's been a while since I've done some of these confidants, probably like 4 years, but it's just one of them things where I can't totally remember the conclusion, but I remember thinking like, yeah, that was okay. You know, that was a decent story. I think Shinya is a little bit overhated, or not overhated, just underrated, but it's not because he's this crazy well-written character. It's just because people don't really talk about him, but I think he's worth talking about. He's a pretty good confidant, and I think he's worthy of being in B tier. Hifumi is a character I feel comfortable putting a tier above the others. So Hifumi, similar, wow, dude, this tier list is getting huge. We're just gonna have to keep it at this size for now. So Hifumi's character, she's a shogi player. She is the quote-unquote queen shogi player. She's like the star shogi player. You go to her for advice on how to use tactics in battle against shadows. You fight against her. Then it's revealed her mom has been setting up her shogi matches, so her skill actually wasn't as good as she thought it was. Then you change the heart of her parent, her mom. Then she's able to play shogi on her own. So it's interesting because it's usually kind of the opposite, where at the beginning the characters might not be very good at something, and at the end they're good at something. Like on with modeling, she was a beginner model, but at the end she's become more proficient in modeling. Takumi, at the beginning of her confidant, she's talking about wanting to make this drug for the kid that she wants to save, and at the end of the day she gets to save her. But Hifumi at the start is actually at her quote-unquote peak, because that's when she's winning all of her matches, but it's all rigged. So the inverse happens, where she's winning all of her matches, but she's not proud of it because that's not the way she wants to win. You change the heart of her mom, she's allowed to play shogi on her own terms, and that eventually leads to her defeat. But she doesn't feel bad about it, she doesn't feel disheartened about it. She takes the loss with pride and dignity, bows out of the battle with grace, and then moves on with her life and becomes a better shogi player, which I think is very cool to see. So like I said, it's kind of the inverse. It's something that we haven't really seen in Persona before, where at first she's, you know, doing her thing, smooth sailing, she's looked upon very fondly, and then at the end she actually loses a little bit of credit because she's not as seen as good of a shogi player. But she's not actually any worse than she was at the start. It's just she's actually playing under her own terms, which I think is cool. And then her personality is nice. She's kind of like the Makoto of confidants. Really good confidant. I really enjoy Hifumi. Mishima, okay, Mishima is actually the most hated character in Persona 5. He's the most overhated character. Mishima, okay, think about this. Mishima at the start of the game, he's one of the victims of Kamoshida, just like Ryuji was, just like An was, just like Shiho was. So he's lost some of his confidence. He doesn't have much confidence, and you, as the Phantom Thieves and Joker and everyone else, you help save his life. he feels indebted to you, so he creates the fan site. He's a huge fan of you and the Phantom Thieves. He wants to see you guys succeed. He wants to see you change the world for the better, and he supports you in his own way by creating the fan site. Now that's great on its own, but through his confidant, where you get closer to him, you get to see the internal struggle of the remnants of what happened during the Kamoshida arc. You get to see him struggle with his own self-image, with his own internal struggles. He got bullied as a kid. He was being abused by Kamoshida. So throughout the confidant, you see him become kind of power hungry, if you will, where he's the he knows the Phantom Thieves. He has all this power at the grasp of his fingertips, quote unquote, because he's not a Phantom Thief, but he has access to the Phantom Thieves. He's the creator of the fan site, so he has this sort of superiority complex for a while, because he's like, yeah, I actually have a purpose to live for now. I might not have many friends, but I have the Phantom Thieves now. This gives me a purpose, but it goes too far. It starts becoming negative. It starts distorting his cognition. Near the midpoint or the end of his confidant, you go into Mementos, and you don't even end up finding his shadow. He changes on his own. He knows you had a part in it. And I can't remember if this happens before or after, but he ends up saving one of his boys from being taken out back by the mafia. He saves them, which is very admirable of him to do, because he could have used that mentality that he had before of like his quote unquote superiority complex to let his bully get piled over by these like crazy guys. But he goes in against his own better judgment and against his own, personal safety, and goes and helps him, which gains him the respect of the bullies, and the bullying stops. So I think Mishima is by far one of the most overhated characters in Persona 5. He's actually really well written, and he's interesting, and he's one of the most ride or die characters for the Phantom Thieves. He, just like Ryuji, at the end of the game, he's out trying to help Joker get out of prison. During the Mementos Deaths arc, he's one of the first voices of reason, where it's like, yo, like, stop, like, support him, like, support the Phantom Thieves. Like, they're trying to save the world, they're trying to change things for the better. Like, you don't want to live under control by Yaodabout, do you? So, you know what, fuck it, honestly, honest to God, I'm putting Mishima up to S. I really think Mishima is super overhated. I think Mishima is a great confidant. He's a great character, and he deserves a lot more respect. So honestly, Mishima, you get S tier. You seriously deserve it. I seriously love your character. You keep doing your thing, dude. All right, damn, I talked about Mishima a lot right there. So let's head into the next character, which is my boy Yoshida. This is yet another GOAT character. This is probably the only other confidant, like strictly confidant, that will be in GOAT tier. Akinari and Yoshida are the greatest confidants and social links in the Persona history. So just like Akinari represented the themes of Persona 3 perfectly, with the theme of death, the theme of like regret, stuff like that, Yoshida represents that aspect perfectly for Persona 5. So Persona 5 is about corruption, rebellion, creating a better future, which is what both of them were trying to do, Akinari and Yoshida. Yoshida at first is a character who immediately you might not like, just purely for the standing of him being a politician. Persona 5 has many corrupt politicians. That's why you're trying to reform society and reform go against the government and go against all these, evil people. That's one of the main points of Persona 5. So initially you probably see Yoshida and be like, yo, fuck the police type thing, NWA, straight out of Compton. But if you really take the time, don't judge a book by its cover and give Yoshida a chance, you can see that you and Yoshida's goals are exactly the same. You want to see the government change. Yoshida at first was a corrupt government official. He did do something bad. He used what was it? I think he took trust funds from the government or something like that. No Good Tora. He got the name No Good Tora, Torinosuke Yoshida. He realizes what he did was wrong. He realizes that the government needs change. He wants to have a second chance. So you could argue maybe he doesn't deserve it, but if you go through his confidant and you listen to what he has to say, me personally, I think what he's saying makes sense. He wants to reform the government. He knows he's not perfect, and he knows firsthand how, you know, corruption is, because he was corrupt himself. So yeah, Yoshida perfectly represents the whole idea of Persona 5, where don't judge a book by its cover. Yoshida's trying to reform the government. He's not necessarily trying to rebel against the government, but he supports the Phantom Thieves. Like, he's not like, you know, totally against Joker and his escapades of doing his own thing, where he's like trying to reform society in his own way. Yoshida is trying to do it in the more direct government approach, you know, direct reform in the government directly. He wants to be a part of the government and do it that way. Joker does it indirectly by doing it more through more quote unquote underground means. They have both the same ambitions, but they take different routes to do it, which is a great dynamic, especially considering Joker is a delinquent quote unquote criminal, and Yoshida is a quote unquote, well, not even quote unquote, he is kind of like a somewhat corrupt politician. So seeing Joker and Yoshida come together, see past their own masks, if you will, like their facades or the labels that have been put onto them by society, go past that and become deeper, learn more about each other, and try to reform the government and nation in their own way, is like what character in Persona 5 does that better? No other confidant does that better. I mean, shit, even during the main storyline, like, there's not even certain arcs that do that as well. Like, I think as much as I think the Kaneshiro arc is okay, I think Yoshida just as a character represents Persona 5 better than even the Kaneshiro arc did, honestly. So yeah, Yoshida easily GOAT here, one of the best characters in Persona for me personally, easily a top 2 confidant slash social link, godlike character. Alrighty, my girl Sai Nijima is next. So Sai is kind of weird to rate because her confidant, we'll just say her confidant basically doesn't exist. It's just all the negotiating, that's just like preamble for the story. Doesn't really reflect her character too much, so we won't talk about that too much. But as a palace owner and like how her character goes with the themes of Persona 5, so kind of similarly to Naoto, where Sai is in a very male dominated field. Sai feels like she's never going to be able to live up to her like male superiors, and it's not because she can't do it, it's not because of her ability at all, strictly because she's a woman. That's how Japanese society is. As unfortunate as it is to admit that and say it, that is how Japanese society is. So she's working herself to the bone, trying to provide for, you know, Makoto or whatever, and make it up in the hierarchy, if you will, and become more respected and whatnot, and make change in the workforce so women can, you know, become more proficient, or not proficient, but more prevalent, if you will. So she's trying to do that in like her own way by just working herself to death, but that leads to her cognition being distorted because she's constantly being overshadowed and overlooked, and it eventually leads to her ignoring Makoto and, you know, having these outbursts where it's like, you know, the infamous scene where she's like, oh, Makoto, you're useless to me right now because you're not providing anything for me. You're not helping me get forward, and you're not helping us get forward. You're not really doing anything in that regard. Which also leads to Makoto's own character development, and she indirectly ends up joining the Phantom Thieves through that. So you could argue Sai to be S tier because I think her palace is good. It represents a very real issue that people face, and it leads into one of the best moments of the story with the plot twist with Joker being in the interrogation room. So if you wanted to argue her being an S, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But for me, I'm just going to put her in A. I don't think she's quite on the same tier as the S tier characters, but she's very good. I think her palace is good, her theme is good, the message she sends is good. Good character. The SIU director, if we want to talk about a character that is just so worthless, like, honestly, I don't even know if he deserves the right of being up here with these characters. Like, I think Chihiro, the leader, Shihori, I keep forgetting her name, but like Mai, Aki, this guy could maybe go down too, honestly, but like these guys are so pointless. And in fact, whatever, we are going to put them down. You know why? Because I said so, baby. And while we're here, I'm going to adjust this tier as well. Bink, bink, bink. Because they do play a role. They do play a small role, but not as important. So the SIU director literally exists just to show the corruption of the police force and like the government. He's literally there only to show that and like foreshadow what's coming next. That's it. He doesn't have an actual character. He doesn't accomplish anything. He's only there to be a like plot device basically, which is fine, but he doesn't contribute anything. He contributes so little and he's not likable. So yeah, like whatever, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, just get out of my face. Kind of the same with Principal Kobayashi. He's like just as unlikable. Yeah, same thing as the SIU director, honestly. Just as unlikable, same reasons. Now we head into the palace owners. Now the palace owners are kind of hard to rank because this is based on who I like the most, right? Now, it would look real weird if, let's say, I put Kamoshida in B tier, right? With, you know, Shinya in them. Like Shinya and Kamoshida next to each other would be kind of crazy, right? So it's kind of hard to rank them because obviously I don't like them, but in terms of how well written a character is, in terms of how much I enjoyed their character arc, that's what we're going to base it off of. How much I enjoyed their character arc, what I think their arc represents, stuff like that. So Kamoshida is a character, you see, should I make another tier maybe? I don't know. This is kind of tough actually. Here's what we'll do. We're gonna make another tier. I know this tier list is already long. We're gonna make another tier. Good antagonist. That's what we'll name it. We'll just make this that color, sure. We'll put Kamoshida there. Good antagonist. Kamoshida is a very, very good antagonist. It sets up the rest of the game perfectly. The stakes are a lot lower, and then the stakes get higher from there. But the connection you have to Kamoshida is even greater than the other palace owners. What I mean by that is you are directly seeing the result of his actions in real time. You got to see Ryuji's leg injury on being extorted and like sexually harassed. Shiho Suou attempt, Mishima's harassment, the harassment of all the volleyball and track team. You get to see all of this directly. Then, you know, his palace owner, or the palace version, his shadow Kamoshida, is just as hateable. Then the cognitive On and Shiho, really good antagonist, sets up the rest of the game perfectly, and it had me hooked instantly. Madarame, I think, is also a good antagonist. I would say he's a decent antagonist. Madarame is a plagiarist of art. He uses the art of others, and you get to see the directs of that with Yusuke, and then you get to see Yusuke's reaction to all the students. That leads to Yusuke getting more it allows Yusuke to stand up for himself. So he's a decent antagonist. I would actually say Kamoshida's a better antagonist than Madarame, but Madarame's still pretty good. I think Madarame's solid. Now, Kaneshiro is like, is he a good antagonist or not? I'm honestly not sure. So, it's tough because I think Kaneshiro's arc is one of the weaker ones where it doesn't really, I don't know. I don't want to put him in F tier either though. Should we just put all these characters in D? But I don't think Kamoshida is a D tier character. Maybe I'll do this. Yeah, we'll do this. I feel a lot better about doing this. Kaneshiro is just, I don't know how to explain it. Like, he is a threat. Like, it's a step up from Madarame. You're going after a mafia boss. He's extorting you and blackmailing you. He's a threat, no doubt about it. But just story-wise, like, I feel like that part of the game is one of the weaker ones, honestly, where I'm not as invested in the story as I was with Kamoshida or Madarame. Now, I don't think Kaneshiro is a bad villain or antagonist, but he's not very good. He's not very good. So we'll just leave it there. Okumura, I actually think, is a good antagonist. Now, why do I say Okumura is better than Kaneshiro? Well, first of all, think about the ending of that arc. Think about what happens at the end of that arc and what that leads to. The Phantom Thieves are put on the global scale in the worst way possible because of this arc. Then you get Haru into the party you get to see his terrible fucking corruption and how he values money over the lives of his employees, which is an all too real reality in society. That's just how things are. So I think he's a pretty decent antagonist. Not too much to say about him. He's decent. Shido is kind of the same thing as Okumura for me, where he's a pretty decent antagonist. Now, if I were to rank these villains or antagonists, I think it would go in this order: Kamoshida, Madarame, Okumura, Shido, and then you go into Kaneshiro, and then Sai's up here, and we'll get to him later. So Shido is like corruption he's like Okumura but worse, where he just values he values himself over everything. He doesn't even really value money, he just values himself. He wants absolute power. He wants the power to make his own rules and decisions. He's Senator Armstrong incarnate. Not a terrible antagonist. I think he's pretty decent. Same thing with well, here's the thing. Yaldabaoth is weird because I think Yaldabaoth and the Mementos, like, do we count Yaldabaoth as the Mementos death? Do I count that section of the game as being accredited to him? I think I will do that. And if that's the case, then the Mementos death arc actually would go up to like here. Now, Yaldabaoth himself isn't that interesting of a character, but what he represents is the good part. How he represents the 7 deadly sins of humanity. You know what? We will put him up to 8 here. He represents like the sins of humanity and stuff like that, where everyone's lost their will to live. They just want the decisions to be made for them. They don't want a difficult life. They want decisions to be made for them, and they want security. Even if what is comfortable isn't what is good for them, then that they turn to Yaldabaoth anyway. It's comfortable no matter what. Comfort over challenge. We don't want challenge. We just want comfort and security. And Futaba was a character that fell into that. I think most of the Phantom Thieves are characters that fell into that, and most of the villains fell into that after their hearts were taken. Really interesting concept, and I really like that part of the game. Memento's death, honestly, is probably, in my opinion, one of the most underrated dungeons of Persona, period. I would probably put it like top 5 dungeons in Persona for me, just overall. So yeah, Yaldabaoth is pretty good. Not bad at all. All right, y'all, we got one last character to do for the mainline games before we go into the spin-offs, and that is my boy Takuto Maruki. Just go, he's goated. I feel like I don't even really need to explain why, because I feel like I explained it with Kasumi, but I'll explain it a little bit. So Maruki is a person who is a therapist. He approaches therapy in a very weird way, where his therapy way is to run away from your problems instead of facing them directly. He's like, oh, it's okay. You don't have to face your problems. Sometimes it's okay to not face your problems, which as a therapist is a very bad thing to say. That's, I mean, obviously not a very good thing to say as a therapist, but despite that, you would think like, well, maybe he's just not a good person. Maybe he, got lucky through psychology courses in university or whatever. But you realize he's doing research on cognitive science and like cognitive therapy. He really does care. Like, he wants people to be happy. He genuinely thinks confrontation isn't the good thing, isn't the right thing to do. That's just his beliefs. He doesn't think it is. which I can see where he's coming from because of his experiences. He doesn't want to see people suffer, so he wants them to avoid the suffering. If your dreams cause you suffering, try to find a different dream. That's kind of how he sees things. So throughout the course of the game, after becoming closer to Joker and indirectly seeing like cognitive therapy and cognitive science, he awakens to his persona during the Mementos arc and like the Shido arc and stuff like that, gains access to the Mementos depths, uses the Mementos depths in his own way to change it so that people are perceiving his own ideal reality. His ideal reality is where no one suffers, everyone has their dreams come true, quote unquote. But we know this isn't the case because the Phantom Thieves want to oppose this ideal reality, and there are people in this ideal reality that don't really see the good parts of the ideal reality, like the homeless people and stuff like that. So Maruki's intentions are very pure, there's a lot of depth to it, and there's a lot of interesting discussion that can come from Maruki. And there's honestly an argument to accept his reality. I don't think you should accept his reality, but if you're in like a really dark time of your life and you're down in the dumps and you're not really hopeful about life, then yeah, you probably would say, yeah, Maruki, like make this ideal reality a thing. I'm on board now. Let's do it. And that's what I think makes him a good character, because there's actually a really valid reason to be on his side. If you said the Phantom Thieves aren't as in the right, because both sides aren't necessarily in the wrong. I think Maruki is somewhat in the wrong, but he has reasons for doing what he's doing, and they're noble reasons. But if you were like, yeah, I side with Maruki over the Phantom Thieves, I would be like, well, why? It depends on why. But if you said, I wouldn't have to suffer this quote unquote thing, I would be like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Like, I don't blame you for thinking that way, which is, I mean, that's when you know a villain is just so unbelievably good. So maybe one day I'll make a video on Maruki himself. But yeah, Maruki, easily one of the best characters in Persona history, deserves to be in GOAT tier, and is worthy of wrapping up the final mainline character. So now we can go into the spin-offs. All right, we have got a lot of characters in this, but it's only going to get larger with the spin-offs. And we're starting with a GOAT character, a GOAT tier character, Labris. Labris is by far the best spin-off character ever made. I am a very big Persona 5 Tactica fan, which we will get to, but Labris, I think, is by far the most well-written. She contributes to the themes of Persona 3 and Persona 4 perfectly. And if you know Persona 4 Arena's story, it's Persona 3 and Persona 4's cast. Now, it is a Persona 4 game, so it focuses on the theme of, you know, facing yourself and facing your shadow and stuff like that, but it focuses on like death and stuff like that too. Like Persona 3, during some experiments, Labris was also in an experiment. So she was in an experiment to artificially give a life form a persona. See if like a robot could have a persona without having like a soul or whatever, you know. So they managed to do that by forcing Labris to go through this terrible experiment. She gains a persona, she goes rogue, runs away. Well, doesn't run away, but she's like kind of captured for a while. She ends up in the TV world after some odd years, and that sparks the next investigation for the investigation team, which then leads into Cease getting involved because they have stake in Labris as well, because Labris is Aigis' sister. They're of the same model. Labris is a older make of Aigis' like anti-shadow weapon. So she uses an axe. She doesn't have weapons or anything like that. She uses blunt force. Then the whole thing is just insane. Like, I don't want to spoil it too much because I know a lot of people have not played Arena, but if you've played Arena, like, she's just so good, man. She is so well written. There's an argument for her to be just about as well written as Aigis. Honestly, I really think there is. Now, even though she isn't shown as much screen time as Aigis and like as much depth as Aigis, she's just as well written, which is crazy because people are always like spin-offs or whatever, like well, they don't necessarily say spin-offs have bad stories, but they'll have like their critiques of the stories in some way. But Labris, dude, like Labris is like honestly a 10 out of 10 character, man. Like She is amazingly written, and she's easily a GO-tier character. All right, we get a nice little break here because this is Officer Kurosawa in Arena, if I remember correctly. That's just how he looks in that. This is Inoue, which is Reisei's idol manager. Obviously slightly important, just not that much screen time, so whatever. Kikuno, I think that's her name, Kikuno, she's in Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. She's kind of just there. Unit 082, if you think she looks similar to Labris, that's because she does. That is a part of the experiments, which I will not go into, but she plays a similar role as, say, maybe Natsuki to an even greater degree. Let's put it that way. Sho Minazuki. Okay, so Sho Minazuki is the main antagonist of Ultimax. Not of Persona 4 Arena, but of Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. Now, here's the deal. I think Sho Minazuki is the worst antagonist of Persona history. Now, is he as poorly written as, say, Mitsuo? Is he as poorly written as, I don't know, the SIU director? Not necessarily. He does have a more important role in Persona 4's lore than, I don't know, some random character you can think of. Like, he's more important and he plays like in more interesting role than the Fox, okay? I won't say like the Fox is better written than Minazuki, but I can't say he's a good antagonist. I really don't. The thing is, it's similar to the reason I don't like Morgana, and it's just, he's so fucking annoying. He's constantly making these puns with the show form, and then if you talk to Minazuki, you talk to me about Minazuki, he's just like this edgelord. And he's cool in gameplay. He's actually one of the cooler characters in gameplay. But in terms of the story, man, he's just unremarkable. I don't have that much to say about him. He's not like terrible. Maybe he could go up to C tier. In fact, I will put him in C tier. I'll put him in C tier. But even then, like, he's still not great. Like, he's with Teddy Morgana and like Minazuki. That's like the mid attack, bro. Mid off. Just nothing more to say. Now, Kanamine is actually pretty good. I'm gonna put her in A tier. Kanamine is one of the main characters of Persona 4 Dancing. She is trying to be an idol. She's also mentioned in Persona 4 just normally. Kanamine is Reisei's rival as an idol. She's a part of Kanamine Kitchen, and Persona 4 Dancing is about a traumatic event when she was younger. She is tied by the bonds of fate, if you will. Excuse me, I've been talking for a while. She's tied by like fate, and she's actually pretty well written. I don't want to talk too much about her story, but she's pretty decent. And the rest of these characters here, these five down here, this girl right here is the manager of Kanamine Kitchen. We'll put her in D tier. All these characters that go alongside Kanamine, I'm gonna put in D tier, and this isn't because they're bad. This isn't because I think they're terrible characters. It's not because they're poorly written. It's just kind of like they play that similar-ish role as maybe they could go up to C tier or something like that. Maybe. In fact, you know what? Yeah, we'll put them up to C tier. We'll put them up to C tier because when they are there, they're fine. They're not bad. They're kind of they play like semi arcs, if you will. Not that deep. They're fine. They're fine. Sophia and Zenkichi. These are going to take a while to talk about. You know what? Real talk, this video is probably already 2 hours long. If you are somehow still watching this, comment Fuka loves lemons. Just something. Comment Fuka loves lemons. Comment I got here. Comment something. Because if you got here, you were straight up a real one. I just want to say that real quick. But where we were, Sophia and Zenkichi. So I would say Sophia and Zenkichi, I don't know if they're GOAT tier, but they're easily S tier. They're some of the best written characters that Persona has to offer in terms of the spin-offs, maybe in general. So Sophia is humanity's companion. She's one of the good AI. Then Zenkichi. Zenkichi is kind of like the Yoshida of the game of Persona 5 Strikers, where at first he's, you know, you don't like him. Like Haru just straight up says like, yeah, we just hate cops. We don't like you. We don't really want you around. We don't trust you. And yeah, they hate him. Like everybody basically hates him. And Zenkichi's like, yeah, we got to go on a trip. We got to do this and that. We're going to go do this and that. And Zenkichi tags along. They do, you know, their thing. And then you get to meet Zenkichi's daughter, Akane, I think. Akane. You get to see her. Long story short, Zenkichi ends up becoming one of the Phantom Thieves in Persona 5 Strikers, which is canonically, I believe, the last person to join the Phantom Thieves. Like, unless you count. Nah, Sophia joined before. Zenkichi becomes canonically, I believe, the last Persona user to join the Phantom Thieves. He's dope, great character arc. He goes from being, you know, like I said, kind of like Yoshida, where you judge a book by its cover, but eventually Zenkichi's like on your side. We're gonna reform things. We're gonna do things the way we have to. So yeah, Zenkichi's really good. Sophia is similar to like Aigis and Labras, where Sophia is first like struggling to deal with her nature as a robot. She becomes humanity's companion. She doesn't know really what she is, stuff like that. You help her find your purpose. You know, we could go on and on about these two characters. I will put them up to GOAT tier, honestly, because I remember playing Persona 5 Strikers back in I think it was 2020, around COVID time-ish, maybe a little bit after. No, I think Persona 5 Royal came out March of 2020, and then Persona 5 Strikers came out like September or something like that. I remember playing that game around quarantine, because I was still quarantined at that time. I was like, yeah, dude, this game is like absolutely amazing, just story-wise, in terms of these two characters in particular. If these two characters weren't added and it was just kind of like them going through the jails and stuff like that, which, I mean, the story wouldn't really make sense then, but let's just say like theoretically somehow that was possible, the game wouldn't have been nearly as good as it is. Zenkichi and Sophia carry this game on their shoulders. They make this game so much more enjoyable, and I love them for it. So shout out to Zenkichi and Sophia. They deserve to be GOAT tier. Who's next? Okay, so here's more antagonists. So this is the Alice in Wonderland girl. She is just kind of okay. This guy's just okay. See, here's the thing where I think Persona 5 Strikers is actually kind of weakened. It's the antagonists. I think, like, these are just unremarkable, man. Like, you got Tony Stark, fucking head-ass guy here, but he's actually okay. You have Mariko, which is the Snow Queen of this game, not to be confused with the Snow Queen route of Persona 1. This girl's name is Alice Hiragi, I believe. I'm not sure if she's good or not. Honestly, I can't even remember what she was trying to do. She was like an idol, and I mean, the dungeon itself is good. I think it's a good jail, but I can't literally remember anything about him or about her. Then this guy is like an AI artist kind of guy. He's not talented at all. Can't remember much about him. Gonna put him in D tier. Akane is Zenkichi's daughter. She's definitely not an antagonist. Oh, sorry, hit the mic there. Zenkichi's daughter, so I'll put her in like put her in D tier. Not because she's bad. Actually, no, we'll put her in C tier because she actually does. Actually, she is technically an antagonist now that I'm thinking about it. I just forgot about that. She has a whole jail dedicated to her. Actually, you know what? She deserves to go a little bit higher. B tier, yeah. I think Akane is actually really good. Akane is like a huge fan of the Phantom Thieves. She, Zenkichi has you over and you get to see her fascination with you. Then she has a jail. She has fake members of the Phantom Thieves there. You have to fight them. You take the jail. You help Zenkichi and Akane become closer. Actually, yeah, B tier sounds good. I think Akane is actually not bad. Ichinose, this is probably the hottest take of the video, I believe. I would probably say, besides like maybe Ebihara or something like that. Ichinose is not that good. Honestly, she's really not. Ichinose is just a worse version of Maki. So Persona 5 Strikers, at least for I think both Japan and like the West, Persona 5 Strikers came out after Persona 5 Royal. So Persona 5 Strikers, you get to the end and Ichinose is like a bootleg version of Maki, like not even as interesting. She's not like poorly written. I guess maybe I could put her up to C tier, that'd be fine. But she's not really that good, man. Like, I don't know. She's not interesting. Like, I really have nothing to say about her. She's not that interesting at all. Ooh, Erina and Toshiro. Okay, this is also going to be another couple that take a while to get to. Okay, Toshiro and Erina. Let's just go ahead and put them up here. We got to scroll a good ways. They're GOAT tier characters. If this was ordered, Toshiro would probably be like up here or something like that. So let's start with Toshiro. Toshiro, just like Zenkichi and just like Yoshida, he is a politician. You don't want to judge a book by its cover, but the difference is Toshiro presents himself in such a different way. Toshiro is kind of like a loser, and I don't mean loser as in he's like a loser as in like Adachi was a loser or something like that, you know what I mean? He's a loser as in his social skills are kind of whatever. He doesn't really stand up for himself very well. He lets himself kind of get pushed around, at least at the start of the game. So as you progress, he starts growing a spine. He starts, you know, growing courage. He starts growing strength to do what he wants to do, which ties into Erina, who pushes him to do so. Erina is a very important character in Toshiro's life. So I don't want to spoil it because I know a lot of people did not play Tactica, and I very much so recommend you do so because story-wise, it is my second favorite spinoff behind Persona 4 Arena. Erina is kind of, how do I say it? She's the leader of the resistance in this next quote-unquote cognitive world. Let's say that. She's a leader of the resistance. She has an upbeat personality, very optimistic, very strong, pushes Toshiro and the others to do better, and everyone else does the same for Toshiro as well. And they become closer. Toshiro becomes closer to everyone else. We start learning more about Erina and them and the world that's the new world that the Phantom Thieves have been transported to. You try to find a way out of the area that you're in. And by the end of the game, dude, I was in tears. Like, I'm really not afraid to say that. I cried at the end of this game because of how just well written Toshiro and Erina were. I really think they are some of the best written characters in Persona. Like, look at all these characters we got on here. Like, really. Like, think about that. Persona 5 Tactica has some of the best characters in it. And then you get cute moments with the Phantom Thieves themselves. You got a cute art style, good gameplay. Like, I can't recommend that game enough, man. This girl, okay, here's the thing. I remember this girl being important, but I can't remember why. Like, oh man, I can't remember why, because it's been a couple, 2 or 3 years since I played it. I forget when it came out. 2023, I think. So it's been about 2 or 3 years, yeah, since I played it. I guess I'll have to put her in an A2 because I can't remember. Like, I really can't remember much about her. Marie, this is an antagonist, pretty decent antagonist. This is also an antagonist. Not bad. These two antagonists are pretty good. Marie is like a dominatrix. This is also very important to Toshiro. This guy is also important to Toshiro. If you're wondering why everything is important to Toshiro, play Persona 5 Tactica and you will find out. But these two antagonists are pretty good for what they are. All right, y'all, we are very closely nearing the end of this tier list, and we have one final spinoff to talk about, and then we go into the Velvet Attendants, and then we're done. So we have Wanda, my boy Wanda. Honestly, I have all the antagonists for the most part in A tier, but Wanda's going in B tier, dude. Like, Wanda is by far the most silent protagonist out of all of them. He has, like, I've talked about, you know, the antagonist not having much character, but Wanda, like, dude, Wonder basically has no character, like actually no character at all. It's kind of insane. I don't have anything to say about him. He just has no character. So we can move on. Rufuru. Oh yeah, by the way, while I'm recording this, we have 3 palaces. So I can't say like, oh yeah, this character at the end of the game got so much better. Like I can't say that. So let's say Wonder somehow ends up being the best protagonist of all time. I don't know that because this was made when there was only 3 palaces in the whole game. So Rufuru would be like probably about the same range as Wonder. He's not bad. He's kind of like just a less annoying Morgana. So he can go up a tier. Arai Motoha. Okay. Arai is going in S tier. Now you might be like, yo, you just put a fucking gacha game character in S tier? What is wrong with you? Yes, because she is like Chie if she was better written. Hands in the air. I really think so. I think Arai is more interesting than Chie in terms of writing. Arai has more stake in the first arc of the game. You could say Chie had stake in the Yukiko arc. Obviously she did, but the way Arai was implemented into that arc and the way she had played her role in it, and then the way she plays a role in everything afterward, and she's just funny as hell. She's just so funny. Arai is a somewhat prodigal baseball player. She's how do I say, she's upbeat. She stopped playing baseball when she was a little bit younger. She's trying to get back into it later on in her confidant, and she's just a bundle of fun, man. I don't want to go too deep into it because guaranteed 99.9% of y'all have not played this, but her awakening is fire, her character is fire, she's fire. Shun Kano, same kind of deal. I'm hesitant to put him in GO tier because the game's not finished yet, so we'll be safe, put him in S tier. Shun is kind of like Kanji's personality somewhat, like a mix of like, let's say Kanji, On, and who else? I'm trying to think of someone. I can't think of who else. And Ryuji on Kanji kind of deal. He's kind of a delinquent type character. But he makes up for it by being a masterful cook. He's actually a really good cook. He brings people to tears with how good his cooking is, which plays a role in the second palace. He's really well written. His awakening is fire. His Phantom Thief outfit's kind of whatever, but hey, you can't win them all. But in terms of writing, yeah, he's actually really good. Shun is actually great. Riko Tanemura, she is not as good as Arai or Shun, but he's not like on the same tier as Rufuru or she's not on the same tier as Rufuru or Wonder. She's kind of like, honestly, now that I'm looking at it, dude, she's like actually Makoto and Hifumi kind of together. She looks like Hifumi and has very similar personality to Makoto. She's a student council president. She struggles to show her emotions. She has personal stake in the third palace. The way she's directed or connected to the palace owner of the third palace is a lot better than it was for Makoto. I think there's a debate for Riko to be an S tier, but I'm going to be conservative, say A tier for now. She's actually really good though. Like her awakening is probably maybe my favorite awakening in the game. Her awakening was great. She kind of subverted my expectations. I thought I wasn't going to like her, but nah, she's actually pretty good. Riko's actually not bad. Then, okay, here's the thing about P5X. This entire row of characters that I'm hovering over right now, these are phantom idols. So some of them have confidants and some of them do not. So this guy does not have a confidant. He's kind of just chilling. This guy or this girl, I don't think she has a confidant. She plays a role in Kotene's confidant, which is this girl, not to be confused with FemC. So we'll put them in D tier, that's fine. Kotene, see, here's the problem. Kotene's bond, or not bond, but I'm thinking about metaphor. Kotene's social link, shit. What did I do? Sorry, technical difficulty. Kotene's social link or bond, I haven't finished because it's like impossible to finish these confidants. So should I put them in NA? Maybe. I guess I will, because I haven't finished it. Rin's I have finished. Hers is pretty good. This video is already 800 years long. I'm not going in detail on it. I haven't finished hers. Hers is whatever. Hers is like C tier. She's trying to be younger. I hate this guy. This guy's annoying. Oh, Tomoko. Yeah, she actually plays an important role in the first palace alongside Arai Motoha. We'll put her in B tier. She is Arai's best friend. She ends up getting injured. That gives Arai personal venture to go into the first palace. Yeah. Yui is a video game character. Her confidant's pretty good. She's kind of like a loser IRL. Her in-game avatar is like this idol type character. I liked her just as much as Rin. Not bad. This girl's name is what's her name? I forget what her name is. She's a nurse. She's actually pretty cool too. Not as good as like Wonder them, maybe a little bit less. She's all right. This girl's a bartender. She's okay. Haven't finished her bond though, or confidant. This guy doesn't even have a bond, so we'll just put him in D tier. This girl didn't have a bond. She was okay. We'll just put her in C tier. This video has already been going on forever. Okay, these are the antagonists of P5X so far. There's two that are missing, but that's probably for the best because that'd be a massive spoiler. So we'll put these in good antagonists. Miyazawa is a little bit better than Kyuchi. Kyuchi is kind of Kamoshida but worse, but he's still okay. Miyazawa is actually a really good bond, or why do I keep saying bond? A really good antagonist, not bad. Okay, now we go into the Velvet Room attendants. These are the final characters. Actually, you know what, before we do that, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know why I have Wonder here. Yeah, we'll put him in C tier as well, because if I put Naoya there, Wonder should go there too. So yeah, I feel good about that. So now we go into the Velvet Room attendants. So Philemon is basically the reason we have Igor today. There's not too much to talk about with Philemon without going into like super in-depth Persona lore, but A tier, solid character. And right alongside Philemon, we're going to put Igor alongside them. They're two of the goats of the Velvet Room. Philemon and Igor are both equally important. Philemon is one of the most mysterious characters in the series. He could be one of the most powerful. He could return someday. We don't really know. We'll have to see. This is Sojima, aka the Demon Painter. He's a goat, D tier. Belladonna and Nameless. So fun fact, Belladonna is the singer of the song we hear in the Velvet Room, and Nameless is the one playing the piano. So for that, honestly, they deserve to go to C tier because they've been playing a song that we've been hearing for 30 years. So they're goats. We're gonna use the Elizabeth sprite because I like Reload more, just saying. Reload, Elizabeth, going in goats. The reason Elizabeth is going to go in goats here is not even just because of Persona 3 itself, with how her character in the journey goes and how her character in the answer goes, but in Persona 4 Arena, she deliberately abandons the Velvet Room to pursue her goal of freeing Makoto from the seal, which she then awakens to the wild card to do, and she's still on her journey to free Makoto from the seal. Will we see that happen in the future? Who really knows? I hope we do, but Elizabeth is a great character. Funny, goofy, well written, all the things. Elizabeth, we don't need that one. Theodore is, we're gonna put him right there. I think Theodore is just as funny as Elizabeth, but without any of Elizabeth's depth. So we'll just put Theodore next to them. We'll put him in B tier. Nah, that's too harsh. We'll leave him in A tier. That's fine. Margaret, kind of. See, the thing is with Margaret, I think Margaret's cool, but she's just kind of like whatever. As far as Velvet Room attendants, like, she's very pretty, if that counts for anything, but just in terms of writing, she's kind of just there. She's kind of just whatever. Caroline and Justine are a step above Margaret, so they can go in A tier as well. Lavenza can go in A tier as well. Jose, I don't even know where to put him. I guess C tier. Maripé, actually Maripé's really good. I'm going to talk about them after, by the way. We're going to talk about them after. This girl's the gotcha girl of P5X, so she's F tier. Fuck her. Shafted me many times. So let's talk about the Velvet Room attendants that we got in here, and then we can wrap up the video for today. So Caroline and Justine are cool Velvet Room attendants. They're the more, I guess, quote unquote, delinquent-ish Velvet Room attendants for Joker. They act as the guards of Joker's prison in his heart. He's imprisoned. Cool personalities. They're actually really fun to be around. Like, they're kind of just as fun to be around as, say, Elizabeth, just not as in-depth. Same with Lavenza. Lavenza's a little bit worse just in terms of how fun she is to be around, but you know, whatever. Merope, actually, in terms of how fun she is, she's just as fun to be around as Liz. Like, she's super goofy. She's actually not poorly written, surprisingly. She, by the way, Merope is the Velvet Room attendant for Wonder in P5X, for those who are not aware. Yeah, she's not bad. Not bad at all. In Jose, he's just kind of there, so whatever. Holy shit, we actually finished it. We have done it, guys. We have finished the tier list. This is my tier list of every major Persona character in the series, ranging from Persona 1 all the way to Persona 5, including every spin-off, every social link, every main party member, every antagonist. I think, what, 200 characters on this list? Some I couldn't talk about, you know. I can't talk about them all. So, GOATS tier, S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, antagonists that are pretty good, D tier, not important tier, and F tier. So, if you look, there's like, for the vast majority of Persona, I like every character. Like, there's only very few characters that I don't like. Like, even D tier are characters that I don't hate. Like, C tier, D, well, I kind of hate Morgana and Teddy, but I don't hate them enough to like put them all the way down here. Yeah. I like the characters a lot more than I don't like them. So that's got to count for something. So some statistics, A tier ended up being the biggest one. S tier ended up being, or GOATS tier ended up being one of the smaller ones, unsurprisingly. GOATS tier is actually bigger than B tier, though. That's surprising. D tier is just kind of like side characters that are okay. And if they're not side characters, they're just not really well written. I feel like my head's about to explode, so I'm going to wrap this video up. If you enjoyed the video, comment Fuka likes lemons. I would really appreciate it. Feel free to drop a like and a sub. I would greatly appreciate it. Feel free to drop your tier list below if you dare, and I will see you on the next video. Peace out. Have a great day.